The following text was recovered from a phone found on the Alum Cave Trail in Great Smoky Mountains National Park on the Tennessee-North Carolina border, October 23, 2024. The phone belonged to Marcus Hayes, age 34, reported missing along with his hiking partner, Derek Chin, age 31. My name is Marcus Hayes, and I'm writing this because something is very wrong on this trail, and I need to document what I'm seeing. It's 3:47 p.m. on October 23rd. Derek and I started hiking the Alum Cave Trail this morning at 9 a.m. It's one of the most popular trails in Great Smoky Mountains National Park, usually crowded with families and tourists. But today it feels different, wrong. We're experienced hikers, done trails all over the Appalachians. We knew about the disappearances before we came. 9 people in 3 years, all vanished from this exact trail. But we figured it was just unfortunate accidents, people getting lost, falling off cliffs. The Smokies are dangerous if you're careless. Now I'm not so sure. The ranger at the trailhead this morning was a woman in her 50s, weathered face, tired eyes. When we signed in, she looked at our names for a long time. "You boys be careful out there," she said. "Stay together. Don't wander off trail. And if you see anyone in camouflage, anyone at all, you turn around and come straight back. Understand?" "What do you mean?" I asked. She just shook her head. "Stay together, that's all I'm saying." Derek and I exchanged looks, but didn't press her. We started up the trail. The first 2 miles were normal, beautiful even. Fall colors, crisp air, the sound of Alum Cave Creek rushing beside the trail. We passed a few other hikers heading down, all moving quickly, not making eye contact. Around mile marker 2.3, we found the first pair of shoes. Hiking boots, men's size 10, placed neatly side by side on a flat rock just off the trail. Inside the left boot was a folded piece of paper. I picked it up and unfolded it. A single date written in pencil. August 14th, 2023. "That's weird," Derek said, taking a photo with his phone. "Probably just someone's idea of a prank," I said, but my hands were shaking as I put the paper back. We kept hiking. At mile 3.1, we found another pair. Women's trail runners, size 7, arranged the same way. Same setup, paper inside with a date. March 3rd, 2024. Derek pulled up a news article on his phone. He had signal here, barely. "Marcus, look at this. March 3rd was when Sarah Mitchell disappeared on this trail. She was hiking alone, told her husband she'd be back by noon. They found her phone and backpack at mile marker 3.5, but never found her." My stomach tightened. "Let's head back." "We're almost to Alum Cave. Let's just get to the cave, take a look, then head down. We're making good time." I should have insisted, should have turned around right then, but I nodded and we kept going. At 3:15 p.m. we reached the area just before Alum Cave. The trail here climbs steeply up rock face with cable handrails, and that's where we found 5 more pairs of shoes, all arranged in a line, all with papers inside, all with dates. Derek checked each one against his phone. These match. Every single date matches a disappearance. The last one is from 3 weeks ago, October 4th. That was James Cordero. They're still searching for him. "We need to leave, now." That's when I saw him, a figure about 100 yards up the trail, just visible through the trees. He was wearing camouflage, standing perfectly still, watching us. "Derek, don't look, but there's someone up ahead. The ranger warned us about someone in camo." Derek turned to look, and the figure moved, not walked. Moved, like he'd been standing on the trail 1 second and was 20 feet closer the next, without covering the distance between. "Run," I said. We turned and started back down the trail, moving as fast as we could on the steep terrain. I kept checking behind us. The figure was following, always the same distance away, never seeming to walk, but somehow keeping pace. Derek was ahead of me by maybe 30 feet. He's faster, always has been. I was trying to keep up, but my legs were burning from the steep descent. "Derek, wait up," I called. He slowed and turned. "He's still back there?" "Yeah, same distance, like he's hurting us." We kept moving. Around 3:30 p.m., we passed the place where we'd found the first shoes. They were gone now. The rock was empty. "Did you see that?" I asked. "The shoes are gone." "Just keep moving." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Why are you running?" I showed it to Derek. His face went white. "I just got the same message." We started running in earnest now, stumbling over rocks and roots. The trail seemed longer going down than it had going up, like it was stretching, adding distance. That's when I heard it. Footsteps behind me. Running. Not Derek's footsteps. These were heavier, faster. I looked back and saw him, the figure in camouflage. But now I could see his face. It was wrong. The features were human, but the proportions were off, like someone had described a human face from memory and gotten the details slightly wrong. The eyes were too far apart, the mouth too wide, and he was smiling. I ran faster, my lungs burning. Derek was still ahead, rounding a bend in the trail. I could see him disappear around the corner. "Derek!" I screamed. I rounded the corner. 5 seconds later, the trail was empty. Derek was gone. His backpack was on the ground, placed neatly beside the trail. His phone was next to it, screen dark. His hiking boots were arranged in a perfect pair. Inside the left one was a folded piece of paper. My hand shook as I picked it up and opened it. Today's date, October 23rd, 2024. I heard footsteps behind me. Slow now, deliberate. The sound of boots on packed earth. I picked up my phone and started writing this. I need someone to know what happened. Need someone to understand that this isn't a serial killer or wild animals or people getting lost. This is something else. Something that uses the trail, uses the forest itself to take people. The footsteps are getting closer. I can hear breathing now, raspy and wrong, like lungs that don't quite work the way they should. I tried to call 911, but there's no signal here. I tried to run, but my legs won't move. It's like the trail itself is holding me in place, roots wrapping around my ankles, even though I can't see them. The figure is standing in front of me now. Up close, I can see he's not wearing camouflage at all. His skin is camouflage, patterned with browns and greens that shift and change to match the forest around him. He's not human, never was. He's holding something, a pair of hiking boots, my size, and a piece of paper. "Your turn," he says, and his voice sounds like wind through dead leaves. I can see Derek now, standing behind the creature, but Derek's not moving, not breathing, just standing there with empty eyes, and I understand that whatever comes back from this trail isn't really the person who went up it. The creature is reaching for me now, and I can't move and I can't scream, and all I can do is keep writing, because maybe if someone finds this phone, they'll understand that the disappearances aren't random and they aren't accidents, and they need to close this trail before. Marcus Hayes and Derek Chen were reported missing on October 23rd, 2024, when they failed to return from a day hike on the Alum Cave Trail. Marcus Hayes' phone was found at mile marker 2.8 on October 24th by a search and rescue team. The phone screen was cracked and the battery was at 3%. This text file was open. Derek Chen's backpack and boots were found at the same location, arranged as described in the account. No trace of either man has been found, despite extensive searches covering over 40 square miles. The Alum Cave Trail was temporarily closed, but reopened on November 1st, 2024. Park officials attributed the disappearances to difficult terrain and unpredictable weather conditions. The phone's last 5 pages of text show signs of interference, with several lines corrupted or deleted. The final sentence is incomplete. If you enjoy my stories, please subscribe and hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. Leave a comment telling me which city you're from and what time it is there. I'm curious to know where my favorite subscribers are from, and share the scariest story that ever happened to you. I'll pin the best one under the video forever. The following text was recovered from a phone found in an abandoned Ford Ranger at the Cades Cove Trailhead parking area on the outskirts of Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Tennessee, on September 8th, 2024. My name is Connor Walsh, and I'm writing this because something is very wrong, and I need to document what's happening before my phone dies. It's 11:23 p.m. on September 7th. My girlfriend Lily and I drove down from Ohio to spend the weekend hiking in the Smokies. We arrived late, around 9 p.m., too late to set up camp at the official sites. So we decided to sleep in our car at the Cades Cove Trailhead and start hiking in the morning. The parking area was empty except for our Ford Ranger, just us, the dark forest, and the sound of crickets. We had sandwiches, talked about tomorrow's hike, then climbed into the back seat to sleep. Around 10:45 p.m., headlights swept across our windows. A vehicle pulled up next to us. I sat up and saw it was a white SUV, older model Ford Explorer, and through our window I could see a man getting out. He was wearing what looked like a park ranger uniform, olive green shirt, tan pants, wide-brimmed hat. He walked over and tapped on my window with a flashlight. I rolled it down. "Evening, folks," he said. His voice was friendly but firm. "I'm Ranger Williams. You can't overnight here without a permit. This is a day-use parking area only." "I'm sorry," I said. "We got in late and didn't know. We'll move to a campground first thing in the morning." "I'm afraid it doesn't work that way. There's a $200 fine for illegal camping on park property. I need to see your IDs and vehicle registration." Lily leaned forward from the back seat. $200? Isn't there a warning for a first offense? Not anymore. New policy as of August. Too many people abusing the system. He shined his flashlight into the car, moving it across our faces, our camping gear. "IDs, please." I handed him my driver's license. Lily gave him hers. He looked at them with his flashlight, then at us. "Mr. Walsh, I need you to come with me to my vehicle so I can write up the citation and process the payment. It'll take about 10 minutes. "Can't you just do it here?" I asked. "Systems in my vehicle need to run your license, check for outstanding warrants, that kind of thing. Standard procedure." Something felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on what. He looked like a ranger, sounded like one, and we were technically breaking the rules. "I'll be right back," I told Lily, squeezing her hand. I climbed out and followed him toward his SUV. That's when I noticed it. The vehicle had no Park Service decals, no official markings at all, just a white Ford Explorer with tinted windows. "Where are the Park Service logos?" I asked. "Personal vehicle. I'm off duty, but saw you pull in. Figured I'd save you the trouble of a bigger fine tomorrow if the day crew found you." He opened the passenger door. "Hop in. I've got the tablet in here." I hesitated. Every instinct was screaming at me not to get in that vehicle. "Actually, you know what? I think we'll just pay the fine at the visitor center tomorrow," I said, taking a step back. His expression changed. The friendly smile vanished. "Get in the vehicle, Mr. Walsh." "I don't think so. I'm going back to my car." He moved fast, grabbing my arm with one hand and pulling something from his belt with the other. I saw a flash of metal. Handcuffs. "You're under arrest for resisting a federal officer," he said, his voice cold now. "You're not a ranger," I shouted, trying to pull away. He was stronger than he looked. The handcuffs clicked around my right wrist. I threw a punch with my left hand, connecting with his jaw. He stumbled back, and I ran. "Lily, start the car. Go!" Behind me, I heard him running. I was 10 feet from our ranger when I heard Lily scream. She'd gotten into the driver's seat, but the man had caught up. He grabbed the door before she could lock it and pulled her out. "Nobody's going anywhere," he said, breathing hard. Blood trickled from his lip where I'd hit him. He had Lily by the arm now, and he was holding something against her side. In the dim light, I couldn't see what it was, but the way she'd gone rigid told me it was a weapon. "Here's what's going to happen," he said calmly. "You're both going to get into my vehicle. Quietly, or I hurt her. Understand?" I nodded slowly. My mind was racing, trying to think of a way out, but he had Lily and I couldn't risk her getting hurt. "Good. Walk slowly to the SUV, both of you." We walked. He kept Lily in front of him, whatever weapon he had pressed against her back. When we reached the SUV, he opened the rear door. "Get in, both of you." The back seat was modified. No door handles on the inside. A metal cage separated it from the front. This wasn't a random attack. This was planned. He'd done this before. Lily climbed in first. I followed. The door slammed shut. "Please," Lily said, her voice shaking. "Just let us go. We won't tell anyone. We'll leave right now." Too late for that. He got into the driver's seat and started the engine. "You shouldn't have hit me, Connor. That makes things complicated." He knew my name from my license, but the way he said it felt personal, like he'd been waiting to use it. We drove for maybe 15 minutes, leaving the main roads and taking a series of dirt paths deeper into the forest. No lights, no houses, just darkness and trees. Finally, he stopped in front of an old barn, half collapsed, hidden in a clearing. "End of the line," he said. He got out and opened our door, holding what I could now see was a taser. "Out. Slowly." Lily was crying now. I held her hand as we climbed out. My mind was blank with terror. This was how people died in the woods. This was how we'd become a news story, a true crime podcast, a warning to other tourists. "Inside," he said, gesturing to the barn with the taser. The barn door creaked open. Inside it smelled of rot and animal droppings. He pulled out a flashlight and swept it across the interior. I could see rope hanging from the rafters, plastic tarps on the ground. This was a kill site. "Sit down," he ordered, pointing to 2 wooden chairs in the center of the space. "Back to back." We sat. He moved quickly, professionally. binding our wrists together behind us, then our ankles to the chair legs. The rope was tight, cutting into my skin. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Because I can." He stepped back, admiring his work. "You're not the first tourist to camp where they shouldn't. Probably won't be the last." "People know we're here," Lily said. "We told our families." "No, you didn't. I checked your phones while I was processing your licenses. No calls made since you crossed into Tennessee. No social media updates. Nobody knows you're here." He smiled. "That's the beauty of it. National park, millions of acres, hundreds of places to disappear. They might find your car eventually. But you'll be long gone by then." He walked toward the door. "I'll be back in a few hours. Try not to struggle too much. The rope is stronger than you are." The door closed. We heard a lock click into place. Darkness and silence, except for Lily sobbing and the sound of her heart pounding against my back. "We have to get out of here," I whispered. "Work on the ropes. Maybe we can—" My phone. It was still in my pocket. He'd taken our wallets and IDs, but hadn't checked for phones after that initial look in our car. "Lily, my phone. It's in my right front pocket. Can you reach it?" It took us 20 minutes of awkward maneuvering, but finally, Lily's bound hands found my pocket and pulled out the phone. She managed to angle it so I could see the screen over my shoulder. 1 bar of signal, 12% battery. I tried to call 911, but couldn't manipulate the phone from this angle. The best I could do was open the Notes app and start typing by feel, hoping I was hitting the right keys. I'm writing this now because we might not make it out of this barn alive, and I need someone to know what happened and who did this, and Connor Walsh and Lily Morrison were reported missing on September 8, 2024, by Morrison's mother when they failed to check in as planned. Their Ford Ranger was found at the Cades Cove trailhead with Connor Walsh's phone on the front seat. The phone showed 2% battery and this partially corrupted text file. Search teams located Walsh and Morrison 36 hours later in an abandoned barn 7 miles from the trailhead. Both were severely dehydrated but alive. The suspect, identified as Randall Pierce, age 48, was arrested at a gas station in Maryville, Tennessee, after being identified through security camera footage. Pierce had 2 prior convictions for assault on hikers in Oregon and Washington state. He is currently awaiting trial on charges of kidnapping, false imprisonment, and impersonating a federal officer. My name is Ethan Chambers, and I'm a solo hiker who learned the hard way that not every shelter in the woods is a blessing. It was October 14th when I set out on the Allegheny Trail in Monongahela National Forest, West Virginia. I'd planned a 3-day solo hike, something I'd done dozens of times before. The forecast called for clear skies, cool temperatures, perfect hiking weather. The forecast was wrong. By 4 p.m. on the first day, the sky had turned black. Thunder rolled through the mountains like artillery fire, and rain came down in sheets so thick I could barely see 10 feet ahead. I was miles from my planned campsite, soaked through, and the temperature was dropping fast. That's when I saw the cabin. It appeared through the trees like something from a dream. A small wooden structure with a peaked roof and a covered porch. Smoke wasn't coming from the chimney. No lights in the windows, but the door was slightly ajar. swinging gently in the wind. I approached cautiously, calling out, "Hello? Anyone home?" No answer. Just the hammering rain and distant thunder. I pushed the door open wider. "I'm a hiker caught in the storm. I need shelter." Silence. I stepped inside and immediately felt relief wash over me. The interior was completely dry. Not just dry, but warm. A wood stove sat in the corner with fresh logs stacked beside it. A single bed with clean sheets occupied one wall, a small table and 2 chairs, shelves with canned goods and bottled water, and everything was spotlessly clean. Not dusty, not weathered. Clean like someone had just scrubbed it that morning. I should have left right then. Should have trusted the instinct that was screaming something was wrong. But the rain was brutal. The temperature was dropping toward freezing, and I was exhausted. I closed the door behind me and locked it. At least, I tried to lock it. But there was no lock on the inside, just a latch that could be opened from either side. I hung my wet gear on hooks by the door and explored the cabin more carefully. That's when I noticed the details that should have sent me running. The bed was made with hospital corners, sheets tucked so tightly you could bounce a quarter off them. The wood floor had been recently swept and mopped. I could smell bleach, faint but unmistakable. In the corner behind the wood stove, I found 3 plastic gas cans, all full, more fuel than one person would need for a winter. And next to them, a coil of rope, brand new, still with the price tag, from a hardware store in Elkins. On the shelves, the canned goods were arranged by type and size. The labels all faced forward, obsessively organized. I pulled out my phone. No signal, which was normal this deep in the forest. My GPS showed I was about 8 miles from the nearest trail marker, in an area my map didn't show any structures. This wasn't a ranger cabin or an official shelter. This was someone's private property, and they kept it ready for something. I should have left. But the storm was getting worse, and darkness was falling fast. I convinced myself I'd leave at first light, that whoever owned this place would understand. I lit a fire in the wood stove using the matches I found on the mantel. The cabin warmed quickly, too quickly. The insulation was professional grade, the kind you'd find in a modern house, not a remote cabin. I ate an energy bar from my pack, not wanting to touch anything in the cabin, and tried to relax. But every creak of the structure, every gust of wind rattling the windows, made my heart jump. Around 11 p.m., I heard a vehicle. The sound of an engine, distant, but getting closer. Headlights swept across the cabin windows. I killed my flashlight and moved away from the fire's glow, pressing myself against the wall beside the door. My hand found my hiking knife, and I pulled it from my belt. The engine stopped. A door slammed. Footsteps on the porch. Heavy boots. Unhurried. The door opened and a man stepped inside. He was tall, maybe 6'4", wearing a rain jacket and muddy boots. He didn't seem surprised to see the fire burning. "Evening," he said calmly, pulling back his hood. His face was weathered, 50s maybe, with cold eyes that swept the cabin and landed on me. "Making yourself at home?" "I'm sorry," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I got caught in the storm." I called out, but nobody answered. "I'll leave right now." "In this storm, that'd be dangerous." He closed the door behind him and locked it with a key from his pocket, a lock I hadn't seen from the inside. "Why don't you stay the night? We can sort things out in the morning." Everything about his tone was wrong, too calm, too friendly, like he'd practiced this conversation. I appreciate it, but I should go. I don't want to impose. You're not imposing. He moved toward the table and set down a backpack I hadn't noticed he was carrying. I built this place for situations exactly like this. Hikers getting caught in bad weather. I like to help people. He unzipped the backpack and pulled out rope. More rope, the same kind that was already in the corner. That's very kind, I said, edging toward the door. But I really should... Sit down. His voice had changed. Not friendly anymore. Flat. Cold. We need to talk about your gear. That's a nice pack you have. North Face, probably $500. Good knife, too. I bet your wallet has cash and cards. My blood went ice cold. I'll give you everything. Just let me walk away. Can't do that. He pulled something else from the backpack. Zip ties. A roll of duct tape. You see, I've been doing this for 3 years now. 18 hikers so far. They come in out of the storm. They're grateful. They let their guard down. And they never leave. He took a step toward me. I didn't wait. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find. A cast iron skillet hanging by the stove, and threw it at him as hard as I could. It hit him in the shoulder, and he stumbled back with a curse. I lunged for the door, fumbling with the lock he'd engaged. Behind me, I heard him coming. The lock clicked open, and I burst out into the rain. I didn't have my pack, didn't have my gear, just my knife and the clothes on my back. I ran into the forest, branches whipping my face, roots trying to trip me. Behind me, I heard him shouting, heard the cabin door slam, heard an engine start. Headlights blazed through the trees. He was coming after me in his truck, a large pickup that could handle the rough terrain. I dove off the trail and scrambled up a steep embankment, using trees to pull myself higher. The truck couldn't follow here. The engine revved in frustration, then stopped. I heard his door open. "You can't get far without your gear," he shouted. "No phone service, no map, no food. The forest will kill you if I don't." I kept climbing, my lungs burning, my legs screaming. I climbed until I couldn't hear him anymore, until the only sounds were rain and my own ragged breathing. I spent the night in a hollow tree, shivering, terrified, listening for footsteps. At first light, I started moving east, using the sun to navigate. By noon, I stumbled onto a trail I recognized. By 3 p.m., I reached a ranger station. The rangers called the police. I led them back to the area where I thought the cabin was, but in daylight, with a clear head, I wasn't sure of the exact location. It took 2 days of searching before they found it. When they did, they found more than just a cabin. In a shed behind the structure, they found 17 backpacks, 17 driver's licenses from different states, 17 phones with the batteries removed, credit cards, cash, identification, and they found graves. Shallow graves in the forest behind the cabin. 4 bodies so far, all identified as missing hikers from the past 3 years. The man's name was Russell Marks. He worked as a surveyor for the Forestry Service, which gave him access to remote areas and knowledge of hiking patterns. He'd been systematically targeting solo hikers, using the cabin as bait during storms. He was arrested at his home in Elkins 6 hours after I reported the cabin. He confessed to 4 murders and 13 robberies. The other hikers had been lucky, like me. They'd escaped or fought back before he could finish. I still hike. I won't let what happened stop me from doing what I love. But I've learned to trust my instincts. If something feels too perfect, too convenient, too good to be true, Probably is. And I never, ever take shelter in unmarked cabins anymore. I'd rather face the storm. Because some storms are natural, and some are human, and the human ones are always worse. The following text was recovered from a phone found on an abandoned logging road near Roan Mountain on the North Carolina-Tennessee border, November 6, 2024. The phone belonged to Andrew Sullivan, age 29, reported missing on November 5th. My name is Andrew Sullivan, and I'm writing this because I think I've made a terrible mistake, and I need to document what's happening. It's 4:17 p.m. on November 5th. I'm somewhere on Roan Mountain, on a trail I don't recognize, and the man I've been hiking with for the past 3 hours is not who he says he is. Let me start from the beginning. I arrived at the Carver's Gap trailhead this morning around 9 a.m., planning to do a solo day hike along the Appalachian Trail section that crosses Roan Mountain. Beautiful area, well-marked trails, moderate difficulty. I've done dozens of solo hikes and never had a problem. Around 11 a.m., I stopped at a scenic overlook to eat lunch and check my map. That's when he appeared, a man in his 40s, lean and weathered, wearing quality hiking gear that looked well used. He had a large pack and trekking poles, the appearance of someone who knew what he was doing. "Beautiful view," he said, sitting down on a rock near me without asking. "Sure is," I replied, being polite but not particularly welcoming. "You headed to the summit?" he asked. "That's the plan." "Me too. Mind if I join you? Always safer to hike with a partner up here. Weather can turn fast." I hesitated. I prefer hiking alone. But he seemed experienced, and there was something convincing about his manner. "Sure, why not?" His name was Dale, he said. He'd been hiking these mountains for 20 years, knew every trail and shortcut. He talked knowledgeably about the area, pointing out landmarks, explaining the history of the Appalachian Trail through here. Around 1 p.m., we reached a fork in the trail I didn't recognize on my map. The main trail continued right, well marked with white blazes. A smaller, unmarked trail branched left into denser forest. "This is where it gets interesting," Dale said. "The main trail adds about 3 miles, but there's a shortcut through Grassy Ridge Pass. Cuts the distance in half, and you get better views. I use it all the time." "I don't see it on my map," I said. "Old logging road, not on the official maps, but locals know about it. Perfectly safe. I've done it 100 times." I looked at the unmarked trail. It disappeared into thick trees, no visible blazes. "I think I'll stick to the marked trail." "Your choice. But cell service cuts out on the main trail for about 2 hours. This shortcut gets you to the summit with full bars the whole way. Plus, you'll save an hour of daylight. Sun sets at 5:30, you know." That part was true. It was already past 1 p.m., and if I took the long route, I'd be hiking the last hour in darkness. I'm experienced, but I'm not stupid about safety. "You're sure it's safe?" I asked. "Absolutely. Trust me." That's when I should have said no. Should have trusted my gut instead of his reassurance. But I nodded and followed him onto the unmarked trail. For the first hour, everything seemed fine. The trail was clear enough, obviously used regularly. Dale kept up a steady stream of conversation, asking about my hiking experience, where I was from, what brought me to the area. Then the questions got more specific. "You drove here yourself?" he asked casually. "Yeah, just me." "What kind of car?" Honda CRV. Why? Just curious, where'd you park? Main lot at Carver's Gap. Nice area. Pretty isolated, though. Bet there weren't many other cars. Just 2 or 3? He nodded thoughtfully. You staying around here tonight or heading home? I booked a room at a motel in Roan Mountain, the Mountain View Inn. Good choice. You check in already or planning to check in after the hike? Something about that question made my skin prickle. Why do you ask? Just making conversation. You carry much cash on you for these trips? My hand instinctively went to my pocket where my wallet was. Some. Why? No reason. Just curious about what people bring into the backcountry these days. I'm old school. Always carry cash in case of emergencies. But I know young people use cards for everything now. The way he said young people felt wrong, condescending. And the questions about my car, where I was staying, whether I'd checked in yet, how much cash I had, they were building a profile, getting information. I slowed my pace slightly, creating distance between us. Actually, I think I'm going to head back to the main trail. This detour is taking longer than I expected. Dale stopped and turned to face me. His expression had changed. The friendly hiker persona had dropped away, replaced by something colder. We're past the point of no return, he said. Going back now would take just as long as going forward, and it's getting late. I'll take my chances. I don't think you understand. We're in the middle of nowhere. No cell service, like I said. No one knows you're here. And that motel, nobody's expecting you until tonight. Nobody would even notice you're missing until tomorrow, at the earliest. My heart started pounding. I pulled out my phone. No signal, just like he'd said. My GPS showed my location, but no trail markers, just blank space on the map. What do you want? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. What I want is for you to keep walking. There's someone waiting at the end of this trail, someone who's very interested in meeting you. Who? Doesn't matter. What matters is you've got a nice phone, nice wallet, nice gear, and nobody knows where you are. I did the only thing I could think of. I ran. Not forward, where he wanted me to go. Not back, where the trail was too long and he knew I'd never make it. I ran sideways, off the trail completely, crashing through underbrush into the dense forest. Behind me, I heard him laugh. You'll just get lost. You'll die out here. But I kept running, dodging trees, jumping over logs, my backpack slamming against my spine. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out. And then I collapsed behind a fallen tree to catch my breath. I could hear him calling out occasionally, his voice echoing through the trees. But he wasn't following. He was waiting. Waiting for me to get lost, to panic, to come back to the trail. I pulled out my phone. Still no signal for calls, but my GPS was working. I opened my hiking app and started tracking my position, trying to figure out where I was in relation to any roads or civilization. That's when I noticed something. My GPS track from today showed the trail Dale had led me on, and it wasn't heading toward any summit. It was heading northwest, toward an area marked on my map as restricted private logging operation. I zoomed out and saw a logging road about half a mile from my current position. If I could reach it, I might find workers, vehicles, a way to get help. I started moving carefully through the forest, checking my GPS every few minutes, trying to stay quiet. The sun was getting lower, shadows lengthening through the trees. After 20 minutes, I heard something ahead. The sound of an engine, distant but distinct. The logging road. I moved faster, hope surging, almost there. Just a few hundred more yards. That's when the fog rolled in. Not gradually, but suddenly, like someone had thrown a switch. One moment I could see 50 feet ahead. The next moment I could barely see my own hands. And in that fog, I heard footsteps. Not behind me, ahead of me, between me and the logging road. Andrew, Dale's voice called out from the fog. But it didn't sound like it came from one direction. It echoed, surrounded me, seemed to come from everywhere at once. How did he know my name? I hadn't told him my name. I pulled out my phone to check my GPS to see how close I was to the road. The screen was glitching, showing my position, jumping erratically across the map. Then it froze completely. I heard the footsteps getting closer. Multiple footsteps now. More than one person. I tried to run, but the fog was so thick, I immediately tripped over a root and went down hard, my phone flying from my hand. I scrambled on the ground, trying to find it, my fingers searching through leaves and dirt. I found it. The screen was cracked, but still lit up. I opened the Notes app and started writing this, because I need someone to know what happened. Need someone to understand that Dale wasn't a random hiker, and this wasn't a random encounter. The footsteps are very close now. I can see shapes in the fog. 2 of them, maybe 3. They're surrounding me. I can hear Dale's voice clearly now, right in front of me. Nobody's looking for you yet, Andrew. Nobody knows you're missing. By the time they start searching, you'll be long gone. I'm going to try to fight. I'm going to try to run. But if you're reading this, if someone finds this phone, please know that I didn't just wander off trail and get lost. I was hunted. Andrew Sullivan was reported missing on November 6th, 2024, by the manager of the Mountain View Inn when he failed to check in. His Honda CR-V was found at the Carver's Gap trailhead. Search and rescue teams located his phone on November 8th on an abandoned logging road, approximately 2.3 miles from the main Appalachian Trail. The phone's screen was severely cracked and showed signs of water damage. GPS data showed Sullivan's track ending abruptly at the location where the phone was found. No trace of Andrew Sullivan has been discovered. Tennessee State Police are investigating possible connections to 2 other missing hikers in the Roan Mountain area over the past 18 months. Authorities warn hikers to stay on marked trails and never follow strangers onto unmarked paths. The following text was recovered from a phone found in a backpack near Grassy Ridge on Roan Mountain, straddling the North Carolina-Tennessee border on March 19th, 2024. The phone belonged to Cameron Bishop, age 32. My name is Cameron Bishop, and I'm writing this at 6:47 a.m. on March 19th. Because something is very wrong, and I need to document what's happening before we try to hike out of here. My friend Josh and I arrived at Roan Mountain yesterday afternoon for a 2-night backcountry camping trip. We're both experienced hikers, done this kind of thing dozens of times. We hiked about 5 miles off the main trail to a remote area Josh knew from a previous trip, set up camp near a small creek, and settled in for the night. Around 11 p.m., we heard the first gunshot. Sharp, close, maybe half a mile away. Then another, then 3 more in quick succession. "That's weird," Josh said from his sleeping bag. "Hunting season ended in January." Maybe someone target shooting, I suggested. Out here, at night. We listened. Silence for maybe 10 minutes. Then more shots. Different calibers, different directions. At least 2 rifles, maybe 3. This doesn't feel right, I said. Should we pack up and leave? In the dark, we'd break an ankle on this terrain. Let's wait until morning. We didn't sleep much. The shooting continued sporadically until around 3 a.m., then stopped completely. The silence that followed was somehow worse than the gunfire. At first light, we broke camp quickly. Neither of us wanted to spend another night out here. But as we started back toward the main trail, Josh spotted something through the trees. "Hold on," he said. "What's that?" About 50 yards off our route, hanging from a low tree branch, was a wire snare, professional looking, the kind poachers use for deer or wild boar. We approached carefully. The snare was fresh, the wire still shiny, and beneath it, on the ground, was blood. A lot of blood. Fresh enough that it hadn't fully soaked into the earth yet. "We should go," I said. "Right now." But Josh was already walking further into the trees. "There's something else over here." I followed reluctantly. 20 feet away, we found a second snare, then a third. They formed a line leading deeper into the forest, away from any trail. "Someone's got a whole operation out here," Josh whispered. "This is serious poaching. We need to report this." That's when we saw the coolers, 3 large white coolers, the industrial kind, arranged in a clearing about 100 yards from our original campsite. They were surrounded by boot prints, tire tracks from an ATV, and more blood. Josh pulled out his phone to take photos. No signal, but the camera worked. He was documenting everything when I heard the voices. Male voices, distant but getting closer, and the sound of an engine, an ATV or dirt bike. "We need to leave," I hissed. "Now." We started moving quickly back toward where we thought the main trail was, trying to stay quiet but also trying to put distance between us and whoever was coming. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. We'd gone maybe a quarter mile when we saw the lights. Flashlights, at least 4 of them, moving through the forest in a search pattern. And they were between us and the trail. "They're looking for something," Josh whispered. "Or someone." We changed direction, heading north instead of east, trying to circle around the lights. But every time we thought we'd found a clear path, we'd see more lights, hear more voices. "We saw the coolers," Josh said quietly. "They know someone's been here. They're looking for witnesses." We moved as quietly as we could, but the forest was full of dry leaves and branches. Every step seemed to crack like a gunshot. The lights kept getting closer. Around 8 a.m., we found a small ravine and hid in it, pressing ourselves against the muddy bank. We could hear them clearly now, at least 5 men, maybe more, coordinating on radios. Tracks heading north. 2 of them, probably campers. Find them before they reach the main trail. Josh and I looked at each other. They were hunting us, actually hunting us like animals. We waited in that ravine for an hour, barely breathing. The voices faded, moving east. When we couldn't hear them anymore, we climbed out and started moving again, staying low, avoiding open areas. That's when Josh's phone got signal. 1 bar. He tried to call 911, but the call dropped after 2 seconds. He tried again. Same result. The signal was too weak. "I'm going to climb that ridge," he said, pointing to higher ground about 200 yards away. Might get better signal up there. You stay here and keep watch. We should stick together. One person moves quieter than two, and if something happens to me, you need to get out and report this." Before I could argue, he was gone, moving quickly through the trees toward the ridge. I crouched behind a fallen log and waited. Minutes felt like hours. I kept expecting to hear a shout, a gunshot, something. Then I heard the ATV, close, very close. The engine was idling, maybe 30 yards from my position. I pressed myself flat against the ground and tried not to breathe. Through the trees, I could see it. A camouflage ATV with 2 men on it. They were both armed, rifles slung across their backs. They were looking at something on a phone or GPS device. Trail camera caught 2 males, early 30s, around 6 a.m., one said. Heading north-northwest. We're close. They had trail cameras. They'd been tracking us this whole time. The ATV moved on. I waited 5 more minutes, then started crawling toward the ridge where Josh had gone. I found his backpack first, lying in the middle of a game trail, contents spilled out. His water bottle, his map, his extra clothes, but no phone, and no Josh. "Josh," I whispered, as loud as I dared. No answer. I looked around frantically. No blood, no signs of struggle. He'd just vanished. Then I saw the boot print. Large, heavy boot, fresh mud, leading away from the backpack toward dense forest. I pulled out my phone and started writing this because I don't know what else to do. Josh is gone and I'm alone, and they're still out there looking, and I can hear the ATV engines getting closer again. I'm going to try to make it to the ridge, try to get signal, try to call for help. But if you're reading this, if someone finds this phone, you need to know that we stumbled onto something bad out here. Professional poaching operation, multiple armed men, trail cameras monitoring the area, and they don't want witnesses. The engines are very close now. I can hear at least 3 of them surrounding my position. I don't think I'm going to make it to the ridge. I'm going to run. I'm going to try. But I need someone to know what happened to us out here in case I don't make it out. Tell my wife Sarah that I love her and I'm sorry I took this trip. And tell the authorities to search the area around Grassy Ridge on Roan Mountain. Look for the coolers. Look for the snares. Find whoever's running this operation before they hurt anyone else. They're here. Cameron Bishop was reported missing on March 20th, 2024, when he failed to return from a camping trip. His friend Joshua Chen was reported missing at the same time. Search teams found Bishop's backpack and phone on March 21st near Grassy Ridge. The phone's battery was at 8% and showed signs of having been dropped multiple times. Chen's backpack was found approximately 200 yards from Bishop's location. Neither man has been found. Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency conducted a raid on an illegal poaching operation in the area on March 23rd, arresting 4 individuals on charges including illegal hunting, conspiracy, and obstruction. Authorities continue to search for Bishop and Chen. The phone's final GPS coordinates placed Cameron Bishop 0.3 miles from the main trail. My name is Trevor Holden, and I spent 5 days hiking the Appalachian Trail through southern Pennsylvania in October 2024. What I experienced on the 4th night changed the way I think about camping alone in remote areas. I'd started at the Maryland border, planning to hike north through the Michaud State Forest section for a week. Solo hiking was nothing new to me. I'd done portions of the AT before, always alone, always careful. I knew the risks, bears, weather, getting lost, but I'd never considered the human element until I found the map. It was October 18th when I reached the Quarry Gap Shelter, a 3-sided wooden structure about 12 miles south of Pine Grove Furnace. The shelter was empty, which wasn't unusual for a Thursday in late October. Most thru-hikers had already finished their journeys by then. Inside, pinned to the wall next to the trail register, was a hand-drawn map. It showed a 20-mile section of the AT through this area, with 7 locations marked with red dots. Next to each dot was a handwritten note: "Do not camp here." The map looked recent, the paper clean and unwrinkled. Someone had taken time to draw it carefully, marking landmarks and water sources with precision. At the bottom, in the same handwriting, was a message: "These sites are not safe after dark. Trust me." I took a photo of the map with my phone and compared it to my own trail map. 5 of the 7 marked locations were established camping areas, popular spots I'd planned to use. The trail register had entries from other hikers. Most were standard fare: names, dates, trail names, brief comments about weather or conditions. But 3 recent entries caught my attention. October 12th. Stayed at Tom's Run. Heard vehicles all night. Left at dawn. Something's not right here. October 14th. Found drag marks near Ridgeview campsite. Fresh. Reported to rangers, but got no response. October 16th. To whoever drew the map with red dots, thank you. I almost camped at Dead Woman Hollow last night, but saw your warning. Heard gunshots around 2 a.m. from that direction. I felt my skin prickle. Dead Woman Hollow was one of the red dot locations, and it was exactly where I'd planned to camp tomorrow night. I should have changed my plans right then. Should have taken the warnings seriously. But I was stubborn and skeptical. This was probably just trail paranoia. Hikers scaring each other with stories. The AT through Pennsylvania was well-traveled and generally safe. The next day, October 19th, I hiked 14 miles and reached the area near Dead Woman Hollow just before 5 p.m. The hollow got its name from an old local legend, something about a woman who died there in the 1800s. The camping area was a flat clearing about 50 yards off the trail, with a small creek and a fire ring. The map's red dot was marked directly on this spot. I stood at the edge of the clearing, debating. It was getting dark. The next established campsite was 4 miles ahead, and I was exhausted. The clearing looked perfectly normal, peaceful even. I set up my tent, filtered water from the creek, and ate a cold dinner. As darkness fell, I hung my food bag from a tree branch and climbed into my tent. It was 8:30 p.m. I planned to read for a while before sleeping. At 10:47 p.m., I heard the first sound, a rustling in the woods, maybe 30 feet from my tent. Too heavy to be a small animal. I froze, listening. The rustling moved in a circle around my tent, slow, deliberate. Not the random movement of a deer or bear. This was something circling, stalking. I reached for my flashlight, but didn't turn it on. Something told me not to advertise my awareness. The circling continued for maybe 10 minutes. Then it stopped. Complete silence. My heart was pounding so hard, I was sure whatever was out there could hear it. Then I heard voices. Low, male voices, at least 2 of them, speaking too quietly for me to make out words, and footsteps crunching through leaves, getting closer. A light swept across my tent, a flashlight beam moving slowly from left to right. "This one's occupied," a voice said, close, maybe 10 feet away. "You sure?" Another voice, younger. "Yeah, I can see the gear inside." Silence. They were discussing something, deciding something. "Leave it," the first voice said finally. "Too risky if he's awake. We'll come back if it's still here tomorrow." The footsteps moved away. I heard an engine start, distant but clear. A vehicle, probably a truck or ATV, somewhere in the woods where no road should be. I didn't sleep. I sat in my tent with my knife in one hand and my phone in the other, barely breathing, listening to every sound. Around 3 a.m., I heard the engine again, closer this time, then fading away. At first light, 6:15 a.m., I packed my tent faster than I'd ever packed anything. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely work the buckles. That's when I saw the tracks, tire marks, thick treads, leading from the woods into the clearing and back out. They'd driven right up to within 20 feet of my tent. And next to the tracks, in the soft dirt near the creek, were drag marks. 2 parallel lines, like something heavy had been pulled across the ground. They led from the clearing into the woods, disappearing into thick underbrush. I followed them for maybe 50 feet, my knife drawn, my phone recording video. The marks ended at a disturbed patch of ground. Freshly dug earth, recently covered over. I ran. Didn't pack carefully, didn't check my gear, just grabbed my pack and ran back to the trail. I hiked as fast as I could, practically jogging, my pack bouncing painfully against my back. Around noon, I finally got cell signal at a ridge. I called 911 and reported everything. The operator took my information and said rangers would investigate. I hiked out that day, covering the remaining 16 miles to the trailhead in 7 hours. I didn't stop, didn't rest, just walked until I reached my car at Pine Grove Furnace. 3 days later, Pennsylvania State Police called me. They'd searched the Dead Woman Hollow area and found a burial site, human remains, approximately 2 weeks old. Male victim, 20s or 30s, identified as a missing hiker from Maryland, who'd last been seen on the AT in early October. They also found evidence of an illegal disposal operation. Someone had been using remote camping areas along the trail to dump bodies, probably victims of crimes committed elsewhere. The tire tracks matched a vehicle owned by a suspect they'd been investigating for months in connection with several disappearances. 2 arrests were made. Brothers who owned a property adjacent to state forest land. They'd been using ATV trails to access remote areas, targeting isolated spots where hikers camped alone. The map with red dots was drawn by a ranger who'd noticed the pattern but couldn't get authorization for a full investigation. He'd posted the warnings in shelters up and down that section of trail, hoping to keep hikers away from the marked sites until he could build a case. I testified at the trial. The brothers were convicted of second-degree murder, conspiracy, and abuse of a corpse. They're serving 25 to life. I still hike the Appalachian Trail, but I never camp alone anymore. And when I see warnings, even hand-drawn maps with cryptic messages, I listen, because sometimes the real monsters aren't bears or weather or getting lost. Sometimes they're the people who know exactly where isolated hikers sleep at night. And sometimes a red dot on a map is the only thing standing between you and becoming one of the disappeared. My name is Daniel Cross, and I'm a wildlife photographer who spent the last 8 years capturing images of animals in their natural habitats. I've photographed grizzlies in Alaska, mountain lions in Colorado, wolves in Montana. I've never been afraid of wildlife, not until October 2024 in Monongahela National Forest, West Virginia. I'd set up camp near Seneca Creek, about 6 miles from the nearest trailhead, planning to photograph black bears feeding before hibernation. I'd found fresh claw marks on trees, scat, overturned logs, all signs of active bears in the area. On my second evening, October 12th, I mounted my trail camera on a tree about 30 feet from a clearing where I'd scattered corn and apples. The camera was a Bushnell Trophy Cam, motion activated with infrared night vision. I'd used the same model for years with perfect results. I set the camera to take 3 photos per trigger, 30-second intervals between triggers. Then I returned to my tent, ate dinner, and went to sleep around 9 p.m. The next morning, I checked the camera. The counter showed 47 triggers during the night. I was excited. That meant lots of animal activity. I pulled the SD card and headed back to my tent to review the images on my laptop. The first photo stopped me cold. It wasn't a bear. It was a human face. A man's face, pale and gaunt, staring directly into the camera from maybe 2 feet away. His eyes were wide, pupils dilated, mouth slightly open. The infrared flash gave his face a ghostly quality, highlighting every pore and wrinkle. I checked the timestamp, 11:37 p.m. The second photo, taken 30 seconds later, was the same face but closer. So close I could see the individual hairs of his unkempt beard, the yellow of his teeth, the broken capillaries in his eyes. The third photo was different. A woman's face, younger, maybe 30s, but with the same wide-eyed stare, the same unsettling proximity to the lens. I scrolled through the images, my hands starting to shake. Photo after photo of human faces. 7 different people, all photographed at close range, all staring directly into the camera like they knew exactly what it was and wanted to be seen. Then the images changed. Photo 23, timestamp 1:14 a.m. My tent, photographed from about 15 feet away. The camera angle was wrong. This wasn't from my trail cam's position. Someone had taken my camera down and was using it to photograph my campsite. Photo 24, closer to my tent. 10 feet maybe. I could see my boots outside the entrance, my backpack leaning against a tree. Photo 25, 5 feet from the tent. The zipper pull was clearly visible. My stomach dropped. I looked at the tent around me, suddenly feeling exposed. These photos had been taken while I slept. Someone had been standing right here, right outside, photographing me. I forced myself to keep scrolling. Photo 26 made me physically recoil. It was taken from inside my tent. The angle was from near the entrance, pointing toward the back, where my sleeping bag was. In the image, I could see myself sleeping, curled on my side, completely unaware. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. In the bottom right corner of the frame, barely visible in the infrared glow, was a hand. A human hand, fingers splayed, reaching toward the sleeping bag zipper. The timestamp, 3:47 a.m. Less than 5 hours ago, I checked the remaining photos with mounting horror. Photo 27. The hand was closer, touching the zipper. Photo 28. The zipper was halfway down. Then the images stopped. No more triggers. Something had been in my tent. Someone had opened my sleeping bag while I slept and then left. Or they'd been interrupted. Or they just wanted to prove they could. I grabbed my phone. No signal. I'd known there wouldn't be. Not this deep in the forest. I started throwing gear into my pack, moving fast, hands still shaking. That's when I saw it. On my sleeping bag, right where my torso had been, someone had placed something. A Polaroid photograph. Not from my trail camera, an actual instant photo, the kind that develops on its own. The photo showed me sleeping, but it was taken from a different angle than the trail camera shots. This was taken from someone standing over me, looking down. In the photo, someone's hand was visible, reaching toward my face. On the white border of the Polaroid, someone had written in shaky letters, "You're so peaceful when you sleep." I ran. I didn't pack carefully, didn't check my map, just grabbed my essentials and ran toward where I remembered the trail was. I ran for 40 minutes straight, my pack bouncing, branches whipping my face. When I finally stopped, gasping for air, I pulled up my phone. Still no signal. I was maybe 3 miles from the trailhead. I kept moving, walking fast, constantly checking over my shoulder. At noon, I finally got 1 bar of signal. I called 911 and reported everything. The dispatcher told me to keep moving toward the trailhead and that rangers were being sent to the area. I reached my car at 2 p.m. 2 park rangers were waiting. I showed them the SD card, the photos, the Polaroid. One ranger's face went pale as he scrolled through the images. "We've had reports," he said quietly. "Hikers seeing people in the woods who shouldn't be there, moving in groups, watching campsites. But we've never caught anyone." "Who are they?" I asked. "We don't know. Some kind of cult maybe, or people living off the grid. They seem to target solo campers in remote areas. You're lucky. Last year, a hiker's tent was found, shredded, gear scattered, but he was never found. The rangers escorted me out of the park. They searched the area where I'd camped, but found no one. The trail camera was still mounted on the tree, but the SD card slot was empty. Someone had come back and taken the original card, leaving only the copy I'd already pulled. I drove home that day, and I haven't been back to Monongahela National Forest. I still have the Polaroid. The police kept it for a week, tested it for fingerprints, found nothing useful, and returned it to me. Sometimes I look at it, at that image of myself sleeping, vulnerable, completely unaware of the danger, and I think about that moment, sometime around 3:47 a.m., when I was deeply asleep and someone was in my tent, close enough to touch me, close enough to harm me, but chose not to. The question that keeps me awake at night isn't who they were or why they were there. It's simpler and more terrifying. Why did they let me live? What were they waiting for? And are they still out there in those woods, watching other cameras, visiting other tents, taking other photos of people who have no idea they're being hunted? I don't do solo trips anymore. I don't set up trail cameras in remote locations. And I never ever sleep without checking my tent first, even when I'm in my own backyard, because I learned something that night in Monongahela. The scariest predators aren't the ones that kill you immediately. They're the ones that watch, that wait, that let you know they were there only after you're safe. The ones that want you to live with the knowledge that they could have taken you but chose not to. At least, not yet. The following text was recovered from a journal found in an abandoned tent at the Charrot Creek backcountry campsite in Big South Fork National River and Recreation Area, straddling the Tennessee-Kentucky border on August 15, 2024. My name is Benjamin Carver, and I'm writing this at 2:34 a.m. because I'm too terrified to sleep, and I need someone to know what's happening to me out here. I arrived at Big South Fork yesterday afternoon, August 14th, planning a 3-day solo backpacking trip. I'm an experienced hiker, 32 years old, done dozens of trips like this. I parked at the Bandy Creek Visitor Center and hiked 8 miles to the Charrot Creek backcountry site, an old homestead area that's been converted to primitive camping. The site has a shelter and several designated tent spots scattered through the woods. When I arrived around 4 p.m., only 2 other tents were set up, both at least 100 yards from where I chose my spot. I wanted privacy, solitude, so I picked a site at the edge of the clearing, near the tree line. Before setting up camp, I stopped at the trail register box near the shelter. It's a weathered wooden box where hikers sign in, leave comments, report trail conditions. I flipped through the register reading entries from the past few weeks. Most were standard names, dates, brief notes about weather or wildlife sightings. I added my own entry. Benjamin Carver, August 14th, solo hiker from Ohio, planning 2 nights at Charrot Creek. Weather looks good, hoping to see some elk. I signed it, closed the register, and went to set up my tent. The evening was perfect. I cooked dinner on my camp stove, filtered water from the creek, watched the sun set through the trees. The other campers stayed in their area, and I didn't see them, except for glimpses of their flashlights moving between their tents and the shelter. By 9 p.m., I was in my sleeping bag, reading by headlamp. By 10 p.m., I'd turned off the light and was drifting to sleep. The first stone hit my tent at 11:43 p.m. I know the exact time because I checked my watch, thinking maybe a raccoon had knocked a branch loose or something had fallen from a tree. The stone was small, maybe the size of a marble. It made a sharp tap sound against the rain fly. 5 seconds later, another stone. Tap, then another. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up in my sleeping bag, listening. The stones were being thrown at my tent, deliberately, rhythmically. Every few seconds, another tap. "Hello?" I called out. "Is someone there?" The tapping stopped. Silence. Just the sound of wind in the trees and the distant gurgle of the creek. I waited, heart pounding. Maybe it was one of the other campers playing a prank. Stupid and inconsiderate, but not dangerous. I was about to lie back down when the tapping resumed. Faster now. Tap, 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 tap. A dozen stones hitting the rain fly in quick succession. "Stop it," I yelled. "That's not funny." The tapping stopped again. This time I heard footsteps. Someone walking slowly around my tent, crushing dry leaves underfoot. Deliberate, heavy steps, circling. My hand found my knife in the pocket beside my sleeping bag. I unsheathed it quietly, holding it ready. "I have a weapon," I said, trying to sound confident. "Leave now, or I'm calling the Rangers." A bluff. I had no cell service out here, but maybe it would scare them off. The footsteps stopped. For maybe 30 seconds, nothing. Then a voice, barely above a whisper, right outside my tent. "Benjamin." My blood froze. That was my name. They knew my name. The trail register. I'd written my name in the trail register that afternoon. Someone had read it, had seen me set up camp alone, and now they were here. "Benjamin!" The voice whispered again, closer this time, right next to the tent door. "Come out, Benjamin. I just want to talk." Every instinct screamed at me to stay inside. This was a trap. They were trying to lure me out, trying to get me to unzip the tent and expose myself. "Go away," I said firmly. "I'm not coming out." "Please, Benjamin, I need help. I'm lost. I just need to use your phone." The voice sounded reasonable now, almost desperate. But something about it was wrong. The cadence was off, like someone reading from a script they'd memorized, but didn't quite understand. "I don't have signal," I said, "and the shelter's 100 yards that way. Go ask the other campers." Silence. Then, "There are no other campers, Benjamin. Just you. Just us." My throat went dry. I'd seen the other tents, 2 of them, unless they were empty, unless whoever set them up had left, or they were bait. Fake camps to make solo hikers feel safe. More stones started hitting my tent, harder now. Not pebbles, but larger rocks, thrown with force. Thud, thud, thud. The rain fly shook with each impact. "Come out," the voice demanded, no longer whispering. "Come out now." The tent fabric wouldn't protect me if they decided to cut through it. The knife in my hand felt pathetically small. I needed to do something, but opening that door was suicide. Then I remembered. My tent had 2 doors, front and back. They were focused on the front door, the one facing the clearing. The back door faced the woods. I moved as quietly as I could, crawling to the rear of the tent. The rocks kept hitting the front. Thud, 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 and I could hear them, muttering something I couldn't make out. My hands found the back zipper. I pulled it down inch by inch, trying not to make noise. The opening widened. Cool night air rushed in. I grabbed my boots, didn't bother putting them on. Grabbed my phone and knife, left everything else. The rocks stopped, suddenly. "Benjamin, I'm coming in." I heard the front zipper being pulled down. Fast, aggressive. I dove through the back opening and ran, barefoot, wearing only my sleeping clothes. I ran into the dark forest. Behind me, I heard a roar of frustration and the sound of my tent collapsing as someone thrashed through it. Then footsteps, running, chasing. I ran blindly through the trees, branches whipping my face, roots trying to trip me. No flashlight, no headlamp, just moonlight filtering through the canopy. I ran toward where I thought the trail was, toward where I hoped I'd find the other campers, or the shelter, or anything. I could hear them behind me. More than one person, at least 2, maybe 3, crashing through the underbrush, yelling to each other. "He went north. Cut him off at the creek." They were coordinating. This wasn't random. They'd done this before. I changed direction, heading uphill away from the creek. My bare feet were bleeding, cut by rocks and thorns. My lungs burned, but I kept running. After maybe 10 minutes, I couldn't hear them anymore. I'd either lost them or they'd stopped to regroup. I found a dense thicket and crawled inside, pressing myself against the ground, trying to control my breathing. I pulled out my phone. No signal, but I opened the Notes app and started writing this because I need someone to know what happened if they find my body. It's 2:47 a.m. now. I've been hiding for over an hour. I can hear them in the distance, calling my name. "Benjamin! We just want to talk, Benjamin. Come back to your tent, Benjamin." They're searching in a pattern, spreading out through the forest. Eventually, they'll find me. It's only a matter of time. I'm going to try to move again soon, try to reach the main trail, and make my way back to the parking area. It's 8 miles, in the dark, barefoot, with multiple people hunting me. I don't know who they are or why they're doing this. Maybe they're criminals hiding in the backcountry. Maybe they rob hikers or worse. Maybe they're just insane. All I know is they used my name to try to lure me out. And when that didn't work, they tried to force their way in. And now they're hunting me through these woods like an animal. If you're reading this, if you find this journal, please tell my family I love them. Tell them I didn't just disappear. Tell them someone took me. And tell anyone planning to hike Big South Fork alone, check the trail registers carefully. Don't write your full name. Don't camp alone. And if someone calls your name in the night, don't answer. The voices are getting closer again. I need to move. Benjamin Carver was reported missing on August 16th, 2024, when he failed to return from his planned backpacking trip. Rangers found his tent at Charrot Creek backcountry site on August 17th. The tent was collapsed and ransacked. His backpack, sleeping bag, and camping gear were scattered around the site. This journal was found inside his backpack. Subsequent investigation revealed that the 2 other tents at the campsite were decoys, empty tents set up to create the appearance of other campers. Footprints from multiple individuals were found around Carver's campsite and along the trails leading into the forest. Despite extensive search efforts involving over 50 personnel and search dogs, no trace of Benjamin Carver has been found. The investigation remains open. Park officials have increased ranger patrols in the area and posted warnings about camping alone in remote sites. The following journal entries were recovered from a waterlogged notebook found by park rangers 3 miles off the Appalachian Trail near Parisburg, Virginia, on October 19, 2024. The notebook belonged to Marcus Treadwell, age 31, reported missing along with his hiking partner, Daniel Kovach, on October 12, 2024, October 10th, 2024. My name is Marcus Treadwell, and I'm writing this because Danny insisted we document our first real through hike together. We've been planning this Virginia section for months. Just 2 weeks on the trail, nothing too ambitious. Danny's the experienced one. I'm just along for the adventure. We started at Dragon's Tooth this morning. The weather's perfect, crisp autumn air cutting through the canopy. Everything feels right. October 11th, 2024. Afternoon. We found something today that doesn't sit well with me. About 6 miles from our last camp, right beside the marked trail, Danny nearly walked straight into a bear trap. Not the small kind either. This thing could snap a man's leg clean off. Heavy steel jaws, rusted but functional, hidden under a thin layer of leaves. Jesus Christ, Danny whispered, crouching down but not touching it. That's illegal as hell out here. I pulled out my phone and took several photos. The trap looked old, but recently set. Fresh disturbance in the soil around it. We marked the location of my GPS and kept moving. But we found 2 more within the next mile. Same design, same deliberate placement. Someone wanted these found by hikers, or they didn't care who stepped in them. Danny called the ranger station, but the signal was too weak. We'd reported at the next checkpoint. That was 4 hours ago. We've set up camp near a stream, and I can't shake this feeling we're being watched. The forest is too quiet, no birds, no rustling, just the water and our breathing. Danny's making dinner, trying to lighten the mood with his terrible jokes. I'm not laughing. October 11th, 2024, 9:47 p.m. He came to our camp an hour after sunset. We heard footsteps first, heavy boots breaking branches without concern, for stealth. Danny killed our headlamps, and we waited in the darkness, hearts hammering. The footsteps stopped at the edge of our clearing. "I know you're there," a voice called out, deep, unhurried. "Saw your fire an hour back." A flashlight beam cut through the trees, and then he stepped into view. Tall, maybe 6'3", wearing a torn Carhartt jacket and carrying a rifle across his chest. Not pointed at us, but ready. His face was weathered leather, eyes sunken deep into his skull. "You boys take some pictures today?" he asked, tilting his head. "Up near Sinking Creek?" My mouth went dry. Danny stood slowly, hands visible. "We saw some traps. We were going to report them." The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Where are you now?" "Look, man, we don't want trouble," Danny said. "We're just passing through." "I believe you." The man took 3 steps closer. "But those pictures are trouble for me. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me your phones, your cameras, anything with those photos. And I'm going to forget I saw you." "We don't have any cameras," I lied. He raised the rifle then, still not aiming directly at us, but the message was clear. "Son, I've been hunting these mountains for 40 years. I know when something's lying. Last chance." Danny glanced at me, and I saw the calculation in his eyes. Not worth dying over. We handed over our phones and Danny's camera. The man inspected each device, scrolling through with practiced efficiency. He pocketed them all. "Smart boys," he said. "You keep walking north tomorrow. Don't look back. Don't come back. And you forget everything you saw today." He disappeared into the darkness as quickly as he'd arrived, leaving us in silence with our racing hearts and our useless GPS watch, the only piece of technology we'd kept hidden. We didn't speak for a long time after that. What could we say? We were miles from help, and he clearly knew these woods better than we ever would. Danny's on first watch now. I'm supposed to sleep, but every sound makes me flinch. I keep thinking about those traps, about how many there might be, about what kind of man sets them. October 12th, 2024, 6:23 a.m. Danny's gone. I woke up at dawn to an empty tent. His sleeping bag was thrown aside, boots gone, but his backpack was still here. At first, I thought he'd gone to piss, but the forest was too silent. I called his name. Nothing. Then I checked my GPS watch, the one feature still working. It tracks both our locations when we're in range. According to the history, Danny's signal moved at 3:47 a.m. Not north toward the trail. East, deep into the woods, straight away from any marked path. The last ping was 2 miles from here. Outside the tent I found the signs, drag marks in the dirt, a torn piece of Danny's jacket caught on a branch, and drops of something dark on the leaves, too thick to be water. I need to find him. I need to call for help. But my phone is gone, and the nearest ranger station is a full day's hike back. Danny could be hurt. Danny could be dying. I'm taking his emergency beacon and following the GPS coordinates. I have to try. October 12th, 2024, 8:15 a.m. The trail markers disappeared an hour ago. I'm deep in old-growth forest now, the kind that hasn't seen human traffic in decades. The canopy is so thick it feels like dusk, even though the sun should be up. I found Danny's backpack 20 minutes ago, discarded beside a rotting log. The straps were cut, not torn. Someone removed it deliberately. Inside, everything was still there. Food, water, first aid kit. Whatever happened, it happened fast. The GPS coordinates end here, but I can see a structure ahead, through the trees. A cabin, maybe. Wood siding darkened by age and weather. A crooked chimney leaking thin smoke. Someone's home. I should go back. I should find help. But Danny could be in there. Danny could be alive. I'm going to check. October 12th, 2024, 8:34 a.m. I'm hiding behind a woodpile about 30 yards from the cabin. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely write, but I need to document this. I need someone to know. The cabin is bigger than I thought, with a root cellar entrance on the side and boarded-up windows. Smoke rises from the chimney in steady curls. There's a truck parked behind it, same era as the man from last night. I heard voices inside. At least 2 people talking, maybe more. I couldn't make out the words, but one of them laughed. A cold, empty sound that made my skin crawl. Then I saw the deer carcasses, at least a dozen strung up beside the cabin, in various stages of decay. But not just deer. Something larger hung at the end, human-sized. I'm close enough to smell it now. Copper and rot, mixing with wood smoke. My watch lost Danny's signal completely. No GPS, no backup. I'm alone out here. I need to see if that's him. I need to know. I'm going to circle around to the cellar entrance. If I can get inside quietly, maybe I can find him. Maybe we can still get out of this. God, please let him be alive. October 12th, 2024, 9:02 a.m. The cellar was unlocked. I descended stone steps into darkness, using my watch's dim backlight to see. The smell hit me first, damp earth and something chemical, like formaldehyde. The cellar opened into a larger space, hand-dug chambers extending under the cabin. There were cages down there, old animal cages made from welded rebar and chicken wire, most of them empty, but not all. In the far corner, I found Danny. He was unconscious, slumped against the bars, breathing shallow, blood crusted on his temple, but he was alive. Relief flooded through me so powerfully I almost cried out. I rushed forward, touching his shoulder. Danny, wake up. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. When he saw me, recognition sparked, followed immediately by terror. He grabbed my arm with surprising strength. "Run," he whispered. "Marcus, you have to run. He's..." A floorboard creaked above us. I looked up at the cellar ceiling, at the thin strips of light between the planks. A shadow moved across them, pausing directly overhead. "Marcus?" Danny's grip tightened. "Marcus, there's more than one. They've been doing this for..." The cellar door crashed open. Light spilled down the stairs, silhouetting a figure at the top. "Well, hell," said that familiar, deep voice. "Didn't think you'd be stupid enough to come back?" The man from last night descended slowly, rifle in hand. Behind him, I heard more footsteps, more voices. I backed away from Danny's cage, looking for another exit, but there was none. The cellar was a dead end. "You should have kept walking," the man said, almost sadly. He wasn't alone anymore. 2 others followed him down. A younger man with the same hollow eyes and a woman whose expression was completely blank. They surrounded me in the darkness, and I understood then that Danny and I had stumbled onto something far worse than illegal hunting. These people weren't just poaching animals. "Please," I said, hating how my voice broke. "Please, just let us go. We won't tell anyone." The man shook his head. "Can't do that, son. You've seen too much already." One of them grabbed me from behind. I fought, I swear I fought, but there were too many hands, too much strength. They dragged me toward the empty cage next to Danny's. The last thing I remember clearly is Danny screaming my name and the cold clang of metal as the cage door slammed shut. The man crouched down in front of me, rifle resting casually across his knees. "Don't worry," he said. "We'll make it quick, eventually." Then he stood and walked away, and the cellar door closed, plunging us back into darkness. I can hear them moving around upstairs now, discussing something in low voices. Danny's trying to pick his cage lock with a piece of wire he found, but his hands are shaking too badly. Mine are too. I don't know if anyone will ever read this. I don't know if we'll make it out of here alive. But if someone finds this notebook, if someone comes looking for us, please know that we didn't just get lost. We didn't just wander off the trail. Someone took us. Someone is keeping us here in these cages beneath the Virginia mountains, and they've done this before. They'll do it again. The footsteps are coming back down the stairs now. The cellar door is opening again. I can see their shadows moving in the light. Danny just looked at me and mouthed two words. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry too, Danny. I'm sorry I came looking for you. I'm sorry I got us both killed." They're opening my cage now. I can smell the gun oil and the sweat and the earth. I'm out of time. If anyone finds this, please tell my family I love them. Please tell them I tried to save my friend. Please find us before the journal ends here. The final entry was written in increasingly erratic handwriting, with visible water damage obscuring several words. The last page shows deep scratch marks and what forensic analysis confirmed as human blood. Subsequent pages have been torn out entirely. Marcus Treadwell and Daniel Kovach remain missing as of this date. An investigation into illegal hunting operations in the area is ongoing. The following text, messages, and notes were recovered from an iPhone 13 found in Madison County, North Carolina on November 8, 2024. The phone belonged to Ethan Marsh, age 22, a senior at Appalachian State University. Ethan was reported missing on November 6, 2024, after failing to return from a solo trip to retrieve camera equipment. November 4th, 2024, text message thread with Riley Chen. "Ethan, dude, you need to see this place we found." Riley, "What place?" Ethan, "We're out near Hot Springs doing that documentary project for Keller's class. Took a wrong turn on Forest Road 467 and found this old trailer just sitting in the woods." Riley, "So? Abandoned trailers everywhere out there." Ethan, "Not like this one. Fresh tire tracks in the mud. Recent footprints. But the trailer looks like it's been here since the 80s. Riley, "Maybe someone lives there." Ethan, "No way. Windows are all busted out. Doors hanging open. But get this, there's newspaper clippings taped inside, all about missing people from around here." Riley, "That's creepy as hell. Get out of there, Ethan. Already took a bunch of photos. Sarah wants to call the sheriff." Riley, "Good. Do that and leave Ethan. Yeah, we're heading out now. He'll show you the pics when I get back." November 4th, 2024. Notes app entry, 6:47 p.m. I can't stop thinking about that trailer. We spent maybe 20 minutes inside before Sarah insisted we leave, but those 20 minutes are burned into my brain. The thing was a 1970s Winnebago, forest green, with rust eating through every panel. It sat in a small clearing about half a mile off Forest Road 467, surrounded by thick pines and rhododendrons. No driveway, no obvious path leading to it. Just tire tracks pressed deep into the mud, recent enough that water still pooled in the treads. Inside was worse. The air smelled like mildew and something chemical, like bleach mixed with copper. Newspaper clippings covered every surface. Walls, cabinets, even parts of the ceiling. All of them were about disappearances. Local people who'd vanished over the past 40 years. Some I recognized from the news. Most I didn't. But what really got me were the photographs, Polaroids pinned beneath the clippings, showing the same clearing from different angles, different seasons. Some dated back to 1983, according to the timestamps written on the borders. In a few of them, you could see people in the background, blurry figures standing at the tree line, watching. Sarah found the box under the fold-out table, a shoebox filled with the driver's licenses, credit cards, keys, at least 30 sets, all different names, different faces, all expired or reported stolen years ago. That's when we called the sheriff's department. They said they'd send someone out first thing tomorrow morning, told us to mark the location and leave. We did. Drove straight back to campus. Didn't stop until we hit Boone, but I left my camera. My good Nikon with the expensive lens. I'd set it on the counter by the sink and forgot it in the rush to get out. Shit. Sheriff's department said they'd retrieve it when they investigate, but that's my camera. I need it for my thesis project. Maybe I should just run back tomorrow and grab it. It's only an hour-and-a-half drive. November 5th, 2024, text message thread with Sarah Palmer. Sarah, did the police call you yet? Ethan, no, nothing yet. You? Sarah, yeah. Deputy came by my dorm this morning, asked a bunch of questions about exactly what we saw, how long we were there, if we touched anything. Ethan, what did you tell them? Sarah, everything. About the clippings, the licenses, all of it. He wrote it all down, but seemed kind of dismissive, like it wasn't a big deal, Ethan. How is that not a big deal? Sarah, I don't know. He said lots of people use those old Forest Service roads to dump trash. Probably just a squatter's den. Ethan, a squatter with a collection of missing persons articles and stolen IDs? Sarah, I'm just telling you what he said. He promised they'd check it out this week. Ethan, did he mention my camera? Sarah, no. You should call and ask Ethan. I might just drive out there myself tomorrow. It's right off the main road. Easy to find, Sarah. Ethan, no. Wait for the police to clear it first. Ethan, it's been 2 days. I just need to grab my camera and leave. 5 minutes tops. Sarah, bad idea. Ethan, it'll be fine. In and out. November 6th, 2024. Voice memo, recorded at 2:34 p.m. Okay, so I'm about 10 minutes from the turnoff. Weather's pretty gray today. Looks like rain. I told Riley I was heading out to grab the camera, but didn't give him specifics because I knew he'd try to stop me. Sarah definitely would have. The thing is, I can't stop thinking about those newspaper clippings, about the pattern I noticed. All the disappearances happened in November, different years, but always November, and all the victims were young, early 20s, students or hikers passing through. I looked up some of the names last night. Melissa Whitmore, disappeared November 1989. Printed her senior photo and everything. Found her listed in the National Missing Persons Database. Status, unsolved. Same with David Kowalski, November 1995. Jennifer Pryor, November 2003. The list goes on. Nobody's connected them because they're spread across decades, and nobody had all the clippings in one place, like that trailer. But someone has. Someone's been tracking these disappearances, collecting evidence, maybe even, I don't know. I'm probably overthinking this. Probably just some weird hermit with an obsession. Happens a lot in mountain communities. I'm turning onto Forest Road. 467 now. Should be there in about 5 minutes. November 6th, 2024. Notes app entry 3:01 p.m. Something's wrong. I'm sitting in my car about 100 yards from where the trailer should be, and I can't see it. Not because it's hidden behind trees, because it's not there anymore. The clearing's empty. Just mud and tire tracks leading in and out, but no trailer. How do you move a 30-foot Winnebago through dense forest in 2 days? The tire tracks look fresh, maybe from this morning. Deep ruts where something heavy was dragged or towed. My camera's probably gone too. Whoever was using that trailer as a base came back, saw we'd been inside, and bailed. Makes sense, I guess. If you're doing something illegal and you know the police are coming, you move your operation. But that means someone was here, recently. Someone knew we'd called the sheriff. I'm going to check the clearing anyway. Maybe they left the camera behind. Maybe there's something else that can explain what was going on here. The rain's starting. I'll make this quick. November 6th, 2024. Notes. App entry 3:47 p.m. I found my camera. It was sitting on a stump right in the middle of the clearing, perfectly centered, like someone placed it there deliberately. Lens cap on, strap coiled neatly beside it. Weird. But that's not the strange part. The photographs are gone from the memory card. All of them. The card's completely wiped. I had over 200 shots from yesterday. The trailer exterior, the clippings, the license box, everything. Now there's nothing. Just empty directories. Someone went through my camera, deleted everything, and left it here for me to find. They wanted me to know they'd been here. They wanted me to know they're watching. I'm leaving. Right now. This whole thing is too creepy. I'll file a police report when I get back to Boone and let them handle it. The rain's coming down harder now. Visibility's maybe 20 feet. I can barely see my car through the trees. Wait, there's something else in the clearing. Another stump with something on top of it. Looks like a box. I'm going to check it out. Then I'm gone. November 6th, 2024. Notes app entry 4:12 p.m. The box had my name on it. Written in black marker on the lid, Ethan Marsh. Inside were Polaroids, new ones. Photos of me and Sarah and Jackson exploring the trailer yesterday. Different angles. Like someone was circling the perimeter while we were inside. In some of them, you can see us through the windows. In others, we're walking back to the car. The last photo in the stack was taken this morning. It shows my dorm room window from outside, 3rd floor of Hoey Hall. You can see my desk lamp on, my laptop open. Someone was at my dorm. Someone photographed my room. Someone followed me here. I need to call the police. There's someone standing at the tree line. I just saw them move behind a pine tree about 30 yards south of the clearing. Dark jacket, hood up. They're watching me. I'm running back to my car. I'm getting out of here right now. November 6th, 2024. Notes app entry 4:31 p.m. My car won't start. The engine turns over but won't catch. I'm not a mechanic, but this feels deliberate. Someone sabotaged it while I was checking the clearing. I can't get a signal out here. No bars, no data. I'm completely cut off. The figure at the tree line is gone. I can't see them anymore, but I know they're still there. I can feel eyes on me. That same feeling I had yesterday inside the trailer, like we were never alone. I'm going to try walking back to the main road. It's about 2 miles. If I can get to a spot with cell service, I'll call for help. The rain's getting worse. Visibility's down to almost nothing. But I can't stay here. I'm leaving my car unlocked with the keys in the ignition. If someone wants it, they can have it. I just need to get out of these woods. November 6th, 2024. Notes app entry, 5:03 p.m. I'm lost. I've been walking for 30 minutes and I can't find the main road. Everything looks the same in this rain. Trees and mud and more trees. I keep hearing footsteps behind me. Not close, maybe 50 feet back, but constant, steady, matching my pace. When I stop, they stop. When I run, they run. I tried yelling for help. My voice just disappeared into the rain. No echo, no response. Just the sound of water hitting leaves. I found another clearing. There's a structure in the center, not the trailer. Something smaller. A hunting cabin, maybe. Windows dark, door closed. I don't want to go inside. But I'm soaked through, and the temperature's dropping. I can't feel my fingers anymore. The footsteps are getting closer. I can hear branches breaking, heavy boots in the mud. I'm going into the cabin. I'll lock the door and wait out the rain. Then I'll find my way back to the road. I have to get out of here. November 6th, 2024. Notes app entry, 6:17 p.m. The cabin's worse than the trailer. So much worse. The walls are covered in photographs. Hundreds of them. All Polaroids, all showing the same thing. People alone in the woods. Some are old and faded, dating back decades. Others are recent. The colors still vibrant. I recognize some of the faces from the driver's licenses we've found. Melissa Whitmore standing in a clearing, looking confused. David Kowalski sitting against a tree, head in his hands. Jennifer Pryor running through the trees, mouth open in a scream. Every single one of them was photographed right before they disappeared. Every single one of them is still missing. And now, there are photos of me, pinned to the far wall, still wet from development, me checking the clearing, me finding the box, me running to my car, me standing outside this cabin, hand on the door. Someone took these pictures less than an hour ago. Someone developed them in this cabin while I was walking in circles through the rain. The door just locked. I heard the bolt slide from the outside. I didn't lock it. Someone else did. There's a sound coming from the back room. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming toward me. I'm trapped in here with whatever comes next. And I finally understand what happened to all those missing people. They found this place. They were led here, just like me. The door to the back room is opening now. I can see a figure in the darkness, too tall and too thin to be human, but moving like it knows exactly what it wants. This is where I die. This is where my picture joins all the others on the wall. Another face in the collection. Another name on a list that nobody will ever connect. I should have listened to Sarah. I should have stayed away. I should have let the camera go. But it's too late now because the thing in the doorway is stepping into the light. And I can finally see what's been hunting me through these woods, and I understand now that some places are not meant to be found, and some doors should never be opened, and I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry, Dad. I tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. And now the thing is reaching for me with hands that are too long and too cold. And I can't. The text ends here. Ethan Marsh's phone was discovered by a park ranger on November 8, 2024, partially buried in mud, approximately 3 miles from Forest Road 467. The phone screen was cracked, and the case showed deep scratches, consistent with being dragged across rough surfaces. The last text message in the thread remained unsent in the drafts folder. Ethan's vehicle was found abandoned on a fire road later that day, but no other trace of him has been recovered. The Madison County Sheriff's Department investigated the area extensively, but found no trailer, no cabin, and no evidence of the structures described in Ethan's notes. His case remains open. The following voice-to-text transcriptions were recovered from the Notes app on an iPhone 14 Pro found inside a 2019 Honda CR-V on War Woman Road, Rabun County, Georgia, on October 22, 2024. The phone belonged to Kyle Brennan, age 34, from Asheville, North Carolina. Kyle was reported missing on October 22, 2024, along with his vehicle. October 22, 2024, 2:47 p.m. My name is Kyle Brennan, and I'm documenting this because something feels very wrong here. I'm on War Woman Road in Rabun County, about 15 miles past Clayton, heading toward the Chattooga River Trail. Beautiful area, perfect October day, leaves changing colors. I've been planning this solo camping trip for months, but I just found something that's made me pull over. There's a Toyota 4Runner sitting in the middle of the road, maybe 50 yards ahead of me. Dark blue, looks almost new. Both front doors are wide open. The engine is running. I can hear it idling from here. See the exhaust mixing with the afternoon mist. No one's around. No other cars, no hikers, nothing. Just this abandoned vehicle blocking the narrow forest road. I'm going to check it out. October 22nd, 2024, 2:53 p.m. This is really strange. I walked up to the 4Runner and looked inside. The driver's seat is empty. Keys in the ignition. Engine still running, like I said. But here's what's bothering me. There's a child seat in the back, one of those rear-facing infant seats, strapped in properly. Empty, but there's a blanket inside it like a baby was just sitting there. On the passenger seat, there are grocery bags. I can see milk, bread, some baby formula, fresh stuff, and not expired. The driver's door is wide open like someone got out in a hurry. Same with the passenger door. But there's no sign of struggle, no blood, nothing knocked over inside. And just abandoned mid-drive. I found a phone wedged in the cup holder. Android, cracked screen, battery at 2%. The lock screen shows 17 missed calls, all from a contact labeled Mom. The most recent was 8 minutes ago. This doesn't feel right. Someone left this vehicle running with a baby seat and fresh groceries. Someone's mother has been calling them over and over. Something bad happened here. I'm calling 911. October 22nd, 2024, 3:04 p.m. I just got off the phone with Rabun County Sheriff's Department. The dispatcher took down all my information and the vehicle's license plate. She said they're sending a deputy out, but it'll take at least 45 minutes because of how remote this area is. She told me to stay with the vehicle and not touch anything else. While I was on the phone, I noticed something on the back seat. A map. One of those old paper Forest Service maps, folded open to show this exact area. Someone's drawn a route on it in red marker, starting from War Woman Road and heading north into the wilderness, way off any marked trail. And there's a note written on the back of a gas station receipt, tucked under the map. The handwriting is shaky, like someone wrote it in a moving vehicle or while panicked. It says, "If you're reading this, don't go there. Don't follow the trail. Call the police and leave. Please." My hands are shaking, holding this receipt. The writing is desperate. The ink is fresh. Whoever left this vehicle was warning people away from something. But warning them away from what? I'm going to wait by my car until the deputy arrives. This whole situation is making my skin crawl. October 22nd, 2024, 3:31 p.m. The forest is too quiet. I've been standing between my car and the Forerunner for almost half an hour now, and I haven't heard a single bird. No insects, no wind through the trees, just silence and that idling engine. I checked the Forerunner's registration in the glove box. It's registered to Amanda Pierce, 29 years old, address in Roswell, Georgia. I tried calling the number on the insurance card, but there's no answer, just voicemail. The phone in the cup holder died about 10 minutes ago. Those 17 missed calls from Mom are the last thing anyone will see on that screen until someone charges it. I keep looking at the tree line, expecting to see someone emerge. A woman holding a baby, maybe, explaining that she had car trouble and went for help. But nobody comes. The woods just stare back at me, dark and empty. The map keeps drawing my attention. That red line heading north, deeper into the national forest where there are no trails, no roads, no marked campsites. October 22nd, 2024, 4:02 p.m. Something moved in the trees, I'm sure of it, about 100 yards up the road, right where the marked route on the map would start. I saw branches shake, heard something heavy moving through the underbrush. I called out, "Hello? Do you need help?" No answer, but the movement stopped as soon as I spoke, like whatever it was heard me and froze. I'm staying by my car. I locked all the doors, and I'm sitting on the hood with my phone in hand. The deputy should be here in 15 minutes or so. The Forerunner is still idling. It's been running for over an hour now. How much gas can it have left? October 22nd, 2024, 4:18 p.m. The deputy just called. He's 10 minutes out, maybe less. He asked if I'm safe, if I've seen anyone. I told him no, but I think something's watching me from the woods. He told me to get in my car and lock the doors until he arrives. I'm doing that now. From inside my Honda, I can see the Forerunner more clearly. There's something I didn't notice before. On the rear windshield, someone wrote something in the dust. I can barely make it out from this angle, but it looks like run. Just that one word. Run. My heart is pounding. I want to start my car and drive away right now, but the road is too narrow to turn around, and the Forerunner is blocking the path forward. I'm trapped here until the deputy arrives. The movement in the trees is back. I can see shapes shifting in the shadows between the pines. Multiple shapes moving parallel to the road, keeping pace with something I can't see. I'm not alone out here. I know I'm not alone. October 22nd, 2024, 4:35 p. My phone just lost signal. All bars gone. I tried calling the deputy back, but the call won't connect. I tried 911. Nothing. I'm completely cut off. The forest has changed. The light is wrong. Too dim for this time of day. The shadows are stretching toward the road, reaching for my car, like dark fingers. And the Forerunner's engine just died. After idling for nearly 2 hours, it suddenly cut out. The silence that followed was so complete, it felt like pressure in my ears. Now I can hear other sounds, footsteps in the leaves. Something circling my car, moving through the trees in a wide perimeter. Not one thing, multiple things, coordinating their movements. I locked every door twice. I'm slouched down in the driver's seat, watching the mirrors, trying to see what's out there. A face just appeared at my passenger window. For 1 second, just one, I saw it. Pale, wrong angles, eyes too large and too dark. Then it ducked below the window frame and disappeared. I'm trying to start my car, but my hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold the keys. October 22nd, 2024, 4:51 p.m. The engine won't turn over. I'm turning the key, pumping the gas, but nothing happens. The battery is fine, the lights work, but the engine is completely dead. Just like the Forerunner. They're surrounding me now. I can see them in the trees, standing just far enough back that I can't make out details. Tall, impossibly thin, moving in ways that hurt to watch. They're not human. I know that with absolute certainty. They're not human, and they want me out of this car. Something hit my rear windshield. A hand, or what looks like a hand, pressing against the glass. Too many fingers. Nails that scrape when they move. I'm going to make a run for it. The marked trail on the map, the one heading north into the wilderness. Maybe that's where Amanda Pierce went. Maybe that's where I need to go. The note said don't follow the trail, but staying here means waiting for those things to break my windows. I'd rather take my chances in the forest. I'm getting out on the count of 3. I'm going to run as fast as I can toward that tree line, and I'm not going to look back. 1, 2, 3. October 22nd, 2024, 5:23 p.m. I'm deeper in the woods now, maybe half a mile from the road. I ran until my lungs burned, until I couldn't hear the sound of breaking glass behind me. They smashed my car windows. I heard it happen as I was running. I found a trail, not a real trail, but a path. Someone cleared the undergrowth here recently, cutting through the densest parts of the forest. This must be what was marked on the map. There are signs along the path, homemade markers, strips of red cloth tied to branches every 20 yards or so. Someone wanted people to follow this route. Someone wanted to guide them deeper into the woods. I know this is wrong. Every instinct I have is screaming at me to turn back, to find another way out. But behind me, I can hear them following, moving through the trees, keeping just out of sight. If I stop, they'll catch me. If I go back, they'll be waiting. The only way is forward. October 22nd, 2024, 5:47 p.m. I found Amanda Pierce, or what's left of her. The trail led to a clearing. In the center, there's a circle of stones arranged in a pattern I don't understand, and inside that circle there are bodies, 4 of them that I can see, in various stages of decay. Some recent, some old enough to be mostly bones. Amanda is the freshest. She's still wearing her jacket, the name tag from her work clipped to the front. Amanda Pierce, pediatric nurse. Her eyes are open, staring up at nothing. No visible wounds, no blood. She just looks like she laid down and stop breathing. The others are the same. No trauma, no signs of violence. They just died here, in this circle, like something pulled the life out of them. And now I understand. This isn't a place people found by accident. This is where they were led. Those things in the forest, they guide people here. They make cars stop. They cut communication. They give you no choice but to follow the marked path. Amanda must have known. She must have figured it out before it was too late. That's why she left the note, the warning. But she followed the trail anyway, because there was nowhere else to go. I'm standing at the edge of the clearing now, and I can feel them gathering behind me. I can feel their eyes, their hunger, their patience. They've been doing this for a long time. They're very good at it. My phone still has battery, but there's no signal out here. These notes will upload automatically when I get back into range. If I get back into range, but I don't think I will. I think this is where my trail ends, where I join Amanda and the others in the circle of stones. I think I've been marked since the moment I stopped to investigate that idling forerunner. They're stepping out of the trees now, dozens of them, forming a wall between me and any escape route. Their faces are clearer in the dying light, and I wish they weren't. I wish I couldn't see the truth of what they are. I'm walking into the circle now because there's nothing else left to do. Amanda's hand is cold when I take it, but it feels less lonely this way, less terrifying to face whatever comes next with someone else beside me, even if she's already gone. The stones are humming. I can feel the vibration in my bones. The sky is darkening faster than it should, and the trees are moving even though there's no wind. Everything is converging on this moment, this place, this inevitable ending. I wanted to document this so someone would know what happened to me, so someone would understand that I didn't just disappear, that there was a reason and a pattern and a terrible purpose behind it all. But now I realize that's exactly what Amanda wanted too, and the person before her, and the person before that. We all left notes, warnings, evidence, and none of it mattered because the trap was already sprung the moment we found that first abandoned car. The circle is complete now. I'm lying down in the space that was left for me, and I can feel whatever lives here beginning to feed. Doesn't hurt exactly. It's more like drowning in cold water, like falling asleep and knowing you'll never wake up. I'm sorry to whoever finds this. I'm sorry I couldn't warn you better. I'm sorry you're probably next. The transcription ends here. Kyle Brennan's phone was found in his vehicle alongside Amanda Pierce's Toyota 4Runner on War Woman Road. Both vehicles were empty. Neither Kyle Brennan nor Amanda Pierce have been located. The phone's last known location shows it briefly reconnected to cellular service at 6:34 p.m. on October 22nd, automatically uploading the notes saved in the app. The device showed signs of water damage and multiple deep scratches across its screen and casing, though the internal data remained intact. Investigation into the described clearing is ongoing. My name is Derek Sutherland, and I need to tell you what happened on the Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania last October, not because I want to relive it, but because someone needs to know the truth about what's happening out there. Someone needs to understand what really happened to Connor Mills. We started our section hike on October 14th, 2024, just outside of Port Clinton. There were 4 of us. Me, Connor, his girlfriend, Lisa Chen, and our friend, Jake Morrison. We'd been planning this trip for months, a 5-day trek through some of the most beautiful stretches of the Pennsylvania section. The leaves were peak autumn colors. The weather was perfect, and we were all experienced enough to feel confident. The first 2 days were exactly what we'd hoped for. Clear trails, stunning views, good company. We made camp the second night near the Lehigh Gap, sharing stories around the fire and feeling like we'd escaped the chaos of our normal lives. It was the 3rd day when Connor noticed the markings. We were about 6 miles from our planned campsite, moving at a steady pace along a relatively flat section of trail. Connor, who always hiked point, stopped so suddenly that Lisa almost walked into his back. "You guys seeing this?" he asked, pointing at a nearby oak tree. Someone had painted a bright orange arrow on the bark, pointing away from the main trail and into the dense forest. The paint looked fresh, almost wet in the afternoon light. "Trail marker," Lisa suggested, but she didn't sound convinced. "Wrong color," Jake said. "A T blazes are white, side trails are blue, never seen orange." I walked closer to examine it. The arrow was deliberate, professional almost. Not some random graffiti. It pointed directly into thick undergrowth, where there was no visible path. "Probably nothing," I said. "Let's keep moving." But Connor was already looking around, and I saw his eyes lock onto another tree about 20 yards into the forest. Another orange arrow, barely visible through the branches. "There's another one," he said. "And look, there's a 3rd one past that." He was right. Once you knew what to look for, you could see them. A trail of orange arrows leading deeper into the woods, away from any marked path. "Connor, no," Lisa said immediately. She knew that look on his face. We all did. Connor Mills was the kind of guy who couldn't resist a mystery. "We're not following random paint marks into the middle of nowhere. Just want to see where they go," Connor said. "Probably some geocache or something. Could be cool." "Could be dangerous," Jake countered. "Could be marking someone's illegal grow operation. Could be marking someone's property line. Either way, not our business." But Connor was already moving toward the first arrow, camera in hand. "5 minutes. If I don't find anything interesting, I'll come right back." That was the last time I saw Connor alive. He was gone for 23 minutes. Lisa timed it, getting more anxious with each passing minute. Jake and I were about to go after him when we heard branches breaking, and Connor came crashing back through the underbrush, face flushed, eyes wide. "You're not going to believe what I found," he said, breathless. "You're not going to fucking believe it." He pulled out his phone and showed us the photos. A clearing about half a mile off the trail. In the center, partially concealed under a tarp and fallen branches, was a large plastic storage container. Connor had opened it. Inside were stacks of cash, bundles of $100 bills wrapped in plastic, dozens of passports with different names and photos, and guns. At least 4 handguns that we could see in the photos, plus what looked like ammunition boxes. "Jesus Christ, Connor," Lisa whispered. "Please tell me you didn't touch anything." "Just lifted the tarp and took pictures. I know better than to mess with something like that." "We need to report this," I said. "Right now. This is some serious criminal shit." Jake was already pulling out his phone, but the signal was weak. 1 bar, flickering. Not going to get through here. We should keep hiking. Report it when we get to the next shelter with service." Connor nodded, but I could see him reviewing the photos on his phone, that curious, excited energy still radiating off him. He'd found something big, something real, and part of him was thrilled by it. We hiked another 3 miles and set up camp near a stream. The sun was starting to set, painting the forest in shades of orange and gold. We made dinner, tried to act normal, but the discovery hung over us like a storm cloud. Connor finally got enough signal to send the photos to his brother, a state trooper in Pittsburgh. "Just in case," he said, "if something happens to my phone, at least someone else has evidence." "Nothing's going to happen to your phone," Lisa said, but her voice was tight. That's when we heard the voices. 2 men emerged from the trees just as the last light was fading. They were dressed in dark clothing, faces partially obscured by ball caps pulled low. One was tall and thin, the other shorter and built like a boxer. The tall one carried a flashlight. The short one carried something else, something that glinted metal in the firelight. "Evening," the tall one said. His voice was pleasant, conversational. That made it worse somehow. "Saw your fire. Hope we're not intruding." The 4 of us stood frozen. Every instinct was screaming danger, but we were taught to be polite, to be welcoming to fellow hikers. "No problem," Jake managed. "There's plenty of space." The short one moved closer to Connor, and I saw what he was carrying. A pistol held casually at his side, but unmistakably present. "Here's the thing," the tall one continued. "We've been tracking some folks who've been sticking their noses where they don't belong, following signs they shouldn't follow, taking pictures of things that don't concern them." Connor's face went pale. Lisa grabbed his arm. "We're not looking for trouble," Connor said. "We were just hiking, that's all." "Sure you were," the short one said. "That's why you followed the markers. That's why you opened the container. That's why you took about 15 photos on your phone." They'd been watching. The entire time Connor was in that clearing, they'd been watching. Maybe they'd been following us since then. Maybe they'd been waiting for the right moment. "The phone," the tall one said, extending his hand. "Give it to me, and we'll forget this ever happened. You go your way, we go ours. Simple." Connor looked at Lisa, then at Jake and me. He was calculating something, trying to figure out if there was a way out of this that didn't end with someone getting hurt. "Connor, just give it to him," Lisa whispered. He pulled the phone from his pocket, slowly, and handed it over. The tall one inspected it, scrolling through the photos. With practiced efficiency, he nodded to his partner. "Smart boy," he said. "Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack up your camp and hike back the way you came. Tonight, right now. And you're going to forget everything you saw today." "It's dark," Jake protested. "The trail's dangerous at night." The short one raised the pistol slightly, not quite pointing it at anyone, but making the threat clear. "More dangerous to stay here." They waited while we packed. 20 minutes of tense silence, broken only by the sounds of zippers and rustling fabric. They watched every movement, never relaxing, never lowering their guard. When we were ready, they escorted us back to the main trail. The tall one gave Connor his phone back, but I noticed he'd removed the SIM card. "Don't come back," he said. "Don't report what you saw. Don't talk to anyone about this. We know where you live. We know your families. Are we clear?" We nodded. What else could we do? They disappeared into the darkness, and we started hiking south. Headlamps cutting thin beams through the night. None of us spoke for the first hour. What was there to say? Around midnight, we found a flat spot and made a cold camp. No fire, no noise. We set up 2 tents and tried to sleep, but I don't think any of us really did. Every sound in the forest made us jump. I was in a tent with Jake. Connor and Lisa were in the other one, about 10 feet away. I must have dozed off around 3 a.m. because I woke to Lisa's screaming, "Derek! Jake! Help! He's gone! Connor's gone!" We scrambled out of our tent, flashlights swinging wildly. Lisa was standing outside her tent, sobbing, pointing at the entrance. The tent was intact from the outside, no tears, no damage. But when I looked inside with my flashlight, my blood turned to ice. Connor's sleeping bag had been cut open from the inside. Long, clean slashes through the fabric, like someone had used a very sharp knife. His pack was still there. His boots were still there. But Connor was gone. "He was right next to me," Lisa kept saying. "He was right there. I felt him get up around 2, thought he was going to pee, but he never came back." We searched the immediate area, calling his name, sweeping our lights through the trees. Nothing. No trace, no blood, no signs of struggle beyond that slash sleeping bag. "We need to call for help," Jake said. But all our phones were dead. Every single one. Fully charged batteries when we went to sleep, completely drained by morning. Even Jake's backup power bank was empty. We had no choice but to hike out. The nearest road was 6 miles south. We left most of our gear and ran, driven by panic and the terrible certainty that something was hunting us. It took us 4 hours to reach the parking area at Lehigh Gap. A day hiker let us use his phone to call 911. The police came, took our statements, organized a search party. They found Connor 3 days later. I wasn't there when they brought him out, but I heard the details from the detective who interviewed me. He was found near the clearing with the container. The container was gone, but Connor was there. The official cause of death was hypothermia, but the detective told me something off the record. Connor's sleeping bag had been cut from the inside, just like we'd reported. But here's what didn't make sense. Connor had also been drugged. Heavy sedatives in his system, enough to make him compliant, easy to move. And his feet had no injuries, no cuts, no signs that he'd walked 6 miles through rough terrain in his socks. Someone had carried him. Someone had drugged him, cut him out of his sleeping bag while Lisa slept inches away, and carried him 6 miles through the night without making a sound. Then they'd left him in the forest to die. The orange arrows are gone now. The police searched the area extensively and found nothing. No cash, no markers, no evidence of illegal activity. Just a college student who wandered off in the night and died of exposure. But I know better. We all know better. Lisa hasn't spoken since they found his body. Jake moved to California and won't answer my calls. And me? I wake up every night at 3 a.m., convinced I hear footsteps outside my apartment in Philadelphia. Convinced someone's coming to finish what they started, because Connor's brother told me something the police don't know. When Connor sent those photos, he didn't just send them to one person. He sent them to 3. His brother, his cousin, and me. The files came through on a delayed send, uploaded when his phone reconnected to service. I have the photos. I've looked at them 100 times, trying to find some detail that might explain what happened. And in the last photo, the one Connor took as he was leaving the clearing, you can see something in the background. something he didn't notice when he took the picture. 2 figures standing in the trees, watching him. They're blurred, partially obscured by branches, but they're there, and they're not alone. Behind them, deeper in the shadows, there are more. At least 6 or 7 shapes, too far back to make out clearly, but all facing the same direction. All facing Connor. I should turn these photos over to the police. I should let someone else deal with this. But I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched, that they know I have the evidence, that they're waiting for the right moment. So, I'm telling this story now, getting it out while I still can. I'm uploading it to every platform I can think of, making it as public as possible. Maybe that'll protect me. Maybe that'll make me too visible to touch. Or maybe I'm just the next name on their list, and this is the last thing anyone will ever hear from Derek Sutherland. If that's true, if something happens to me, at least you'll know why. At least you'll know that Connor didn't just wander off and die. He found something he shouldn't have found, and it cost him everything. Don't follow the orange arrows. If you see them on any trail, anywhere, turn around and go back. Report it if you want, but don't investigate. Don't be curious. Don't do what Connor did, because some trails lead places you can never come back from. My name is Nathan Cross, and I need to tell you what happened on Mount Mitchell last September. Not because I want to remember it, but because someone needs to know the truth about what's up there in those mountains. Someone needs to understand why I can't sleep anymore, why every foggy morning sends me into a panic attack, and why I'll never set foot on that trail again. We started the hike on September 17th, 2024. There were 4 of us. Me, my best friend Trevor Walsh, his wife Stephanie, and our buddy Marcus Lee. We'd driven up from Charlotte to hike the Mount Mitchell Trail, the highest peak east of the Mississippi. 6 miles round trip, moderately difficult, perfect for a Saturday adventure. The weather forecast had called for clear skies all day. That was the first lie. We reached the summit around 2 p.m. The observation tower offered panoramic views of the Blue Ridge Mountains, layer after layer of peaks fading into the distance. We took photos, ate lunch, enjoyed the moment. Everything was perfect. The fog rolled in around 3:30 p.m. It didn't creep in gradually like normal mountain fog. It arrived all at once, a wall of white that swallowed the world in seconds. One moment we could see for miles. The next, we could barely see 10 feet in front of us. Jesus, Trevor said, watching the fog consume the observation tower. Where did that come from? Weather in the mountains, Marcus said, checking his phone. We should head down before it gets worse. We started descending, staying close together, following the trail markers. The fog was so thick it felt solid, like we were wading through something physical. Sound became muffled and strange. Our footsteps seemed to come from the wrong directions. That's when we heard the screaming. A woman's voice, high and terrified, calling for help. The sound was close, maybe 30 or 40 yards off the trail. It echoed strangely in the fog, making it hard to pinpoint the exact direction. Help me! Please, someone help me! We stopped, frozen. The voice came again, desperate, urgent. Oh my God, Stephanie whispered. Someone's hurt. Hello? Trevor called out. Where are you? I'm hurt. I fell. Please help me. The voice was moving, or seemed to be moving, circling around us in the white void. Marcus pulled out his phone to call 911, but there was no signal. The fog seemed to be blocking everything. "We have to help her," Stephanie said. "We don't even know where she is," I argued. "The fog's too thick. We could get lost ourselves." "I'm going," Trevor said, pulling out his flashlight. "Stay here. Keep talking so I can find my way back. I'll follow the sound. See if I can locate her." "Trevor, no," I said. "This feels wrong." But he was already moving into the fog, flashlight beam cutting a weak tunnel through the white. "Keep calling out so I can orient myself." We watched his light disappear within seconds. The fog swallowed him completely. "Trevor," Stephanie called. "Can you hear us?" "Yeah," his voice came back, already distant. "Keep talking." We kept calling his name, shouting into the fog, and then we heard him again, his voice excited. "I found her. She's down a slope. I'm going to help her up. Stay where you are." "Be careful," Marcus yelled. Trevor's voice came again a moment later, but farther away now, much farther. "Follow me. Come this way. I need help." "Which way?" I shouted. "We can't see you." "This way. Follow my voice." But the voice was moving, getting more distant with each word. "Come on, hurry." Something in his tone made my skin crawl. It sounded like Trevor, but something was off. The cadence was wrong. The urgency felt false. "Trevor, stay put," Marcus yelled. "We're coming to you, but you have to stop moving." No response, just the fog pressing in around us, dense and suffocating. We waited there for an hour, maybe longer. Time felt strange in that white void. We called Trevor's name until our voices were hoarse. We tried his cell phone over and over. No answer, no signal, nothing but the fog and the terrible silence. Then, finally, around 5 p.m., the fog began to lift. Not gradually, but all at once, like someone had turned off a switch. One moment we were blind. The next we could see. Trevor was gone. We were still on the trail, right where we'd stopped. But Trevor was nowhere to be seen. His phone went straight to voicemail. There was no sign of him in any direction. "We need to find him," Stephanie said, her voice shaking. "We need to search." We spread out, staying within sight of each other, calling his name. Marcus found it first, about 50 yards down the slope from where we'd been standing. Trevor's flashlight, shattered. The lens was cracked, the casing dented, like it had been thrown against something hard. And on the rocks nearby, we found blood. Not a lot, but enough. Dark red smears on the granite, still wet. "Oh God," Stephanie was crying now. "Oh God, Trevor." We called 911 as soon as we got signal. Park rangers arrived within 30 minutes. They organized a search party, brought in dogs, scoured the area until dark. They found nothing else. No more blood, no signs of struggle, no trace of Trevor Walsh. The next morning, they expanded the search. A ranger checked Trevor's phone records, tracked his last GPS ping. That's when they told us something that made no sense. Trevor's last signal had come from a location over a mile away from where we'd been standing, a mile northeast in an area called Commissary Ridge, right at the edge of a 200-foot cliff. "That's impossible," I said. "He was gone for maybe 5 minutes before we heard his voice. You can't cover that distance in 5 minutes, not through this terrain." The ranger just looked at me with tired eyes. "Sir, I'm telling you what the data shows. His phone pinged at Commissary Ridge at 3:47 p.m. After that, nothing. They searched the base of the cliff. They found Trevor 3 days later at the bottom of the ravine. The fall had killed him. Instantly, they said. massive trauma, no chance of survival. But here's what the Rangers didn't tell us. Here's what I learned later from a sympathetic deputy who'd been on the recovery team. Trevor had defensive wounds on his hands, deep scratches like he'd been fighting something off. And his face had this expression of absolute terror frozen on it, mouth open in a scream. But there was something else. His throat was torn, not from the fall. The deputy said it looked like claw marks, 4 parallel gouges, too precise to be from rocks, too deep to be from branches, like something had grabbed him by the throat and dragged him. The official report called it an accidental death. Lost in the fog, disoriented, walked off the cliff. Case closed. But I know better. We all know better. Because I remember that voice in the fog, the one that sounded like Trevor, calling us to follow. I remember how it moved, how it led us farther from the trail. And I remember something else, something I didn't tell the Rangers. When the fog first rolled in, just for a second I saw something, a shape in the white, tall and wrong, moving on limbs that bent in ways human limbs shouldn't bend. I convinced myself it was a trick of the light, the fog playing games with my eyes. But now when I close my eyes, I see that shape. I see it clearly, and I understand that the screaming woman was never real. The voice calling for help was bait. And when Trevor went into that fog, something was waiting for him. Marcus won't talk about it. He moved to California 2 months ago and blocked our numbers. Stephanie spent 6 weeks in psychiatric care and still won't leave her house. And me? I've been researching. Mount Mitchell has a history. People have been disappearing from that mountain for over a century. Not many, maybe 1 or 2 every few years, but enough. Hikers who vanish in sudden fog banks, climbers who hear voices calling them off the trail, bodies found in impossible locations when they're found at all. The Cherokee called that mountain Atakula, and they had stories about it, stories about spirits that lived in the clouds, beings that could mimic human voices, lure people into the mist and take them. The early settlers had stories too, tales of fog devils that hunted in the high places. I think there's something up there, something old, something that's been hunting in those mountains for longer than we've had words to name it. I think it uses the fog to hunt, mimics voices to separate people from groups, and feeds on whatever it catches. And I think Trevor heard it. When he went into that fog, when he thought he was rescuing someone, he walked straight into its trap. And then it used his voice to try to lure the rest of us in. The only reason I'm alive is because I didn't follow. The only reason Stephanie and Marcus survived is because we stayed together, stayed on the trail. The moment we would have stepped off that path, the moment we would have followed that false voice into the white, we would have been next. I got a call last week from a ranger I'd spoken to during the search. He'd told me something off the record, something he said I needed to know. There was another disappearance on Mount Mitchell 3 days ago. A solo hiker, young woman named Ashley Brenner, went missing in a sudden fog bank. They found her phone at the summit, but no other trace. "Mr. Cross," the ranger said, "I need to ask you something. When your friend disappeared, did you hear anything unusual? Any sounds that didn't make sense?" I told him about the screaming woman, about Trevor's voice calling us to follow, about the strange way sound moved in that fog. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, 6 other people have told me the same story. Different years, different victims, but always the same pattern. Sudden fog, voices calling for help, someone going to investigate and never coming back. But the official reports never mention it. They all get classified as accidents. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because someone needs to know the truth. Someone needs to warn people. That mountain is hunting, Mr. Cross. And it's getting hungrier. I'm telling you this now because I can't carry it alone anymore. Because every time I see fog rolling in, I hear that voice, Trevor's voice, calling me to follow. And I'm terrified that one day I'll be weak enough or tired enough or broken enough to actually do it. If you're planning to hike Mount Mitchell, please reconsider. If you're already there and the fog rolls in, get down immediately. Don't stop. Don't investigate strange sounds. Don't trust voices in the white. Stay on the trail. Stay with your group. And if someone goes into that fog, God help me for saying this, but let them go. Because whatever's up there in those mountains, it's still hungry. It's still hunting. And the fog will roll in again. Trevor Walsh was my best friend for 15 years. He was the best man at my wedding. He was godfather to my daughter. And I left him in that fog because some part of me, some deep instinct, knew that following him meant dying. I have to live with that choice every day. I have to wake up every morning knowing I survived, and he didn't. But at least I'm here to tell his story. At least I can warn other people. Don't go into the fog. Don't follow the voices. And if you hear someone calling for help on Mount Mitchell, remember Trevor Walsh. Remember that some things hunt by mimicking prey, and sometimes the kindest thing you can do is walk away. That mountain took my friend. Don't let it take anyone else.